If I take over planning my funeral from my very religious parents, hello, all. Well, if it isn't obvious already from the title, I am dying. I don't feel the details are super relevant to the issue at hand, but for those who are curious about my ultimate demise, I have cystic fibrosis and after 2 rejected lung transplants, I've been told there isn't anything else they can do except keep me comfortable in my last few weeks. I've begun my preparations for my funeral and such, and while I was thinking it would be a breath of fresh air in this whirlwind of death, I could not have been more wrong. Now, on to the title. My parents are both strict Southern Baptists and want a very traditional funeral. This includes hymns to be sung during the memorial, a casket and graveside service, a viewing, countless prayers during the memorial, scripture to be read, etc. My issue with this is, well, everything. I am the complete opposite of my parents, not religious, curse like a sailor, drink like the Irish, you name it. Everything they are wanting and attempting to plan is not me as a person. I've somehow made it to 25 and managed to meet the man of dreams and marry him last year, and he is torn. He wants me to have it exactly as I want, he just doesn't want to have to deal with my parents after the fact while actively grieving. I have 2 siblings, one of which is a clone of my parents and one that is a mixture of my parents and myself. I want my service to be one full of laughter, funny stories and pictures, upbeat music, cats. My husband and I are avid cat lovers, I want confetti and shit. But, more importantly, I want to be cremated and put in a fucking cat-shaped urn. I told my husband I wanted my ashes to be handed out like party favors so my family and friends can take me with them because I love to travel, and he looked horrified. My parents are absolutely not on board and are essentially planning everything how they want. Attempting to take me shopping for a casket, flowers, picking out hymns and verses, the whole deal. I'm obviously not very pleased, so, I guess my question would be, Wibta, if I took control of my own funeral and wrote a will to be followed exactly how I want it? I understand my parents are grieving and I've tried to compromise with a mixture of both my views and theirs, but, they aren't having it. I never thought dying would be so fucking stressful, and I just want to enjoy what time I have left, without leaving a bomb of emotion and disappointment behind. Please, help. TLDR, I am dying and my parents want to plan a funeral that isn't me as a person. Edit, I should clarify the ashes as party favors thing. I wanted my closest friends and family to go home with a vial or something of the sort of my ashes, that way they could do with them as they please. Not everyone will get a piece of me, as strange as that sounds. Second edit, holy shit. I was not expecting this. Thank you. Seriously. I have read every comment and I wish I could reply to every single one, that is the goal. So, please, be patient with me. Thank you to everyone for the kind words and messages, it's been so overwhelming, and if I were a cat, I would be making biscuits and purring until I keeled over. I am writing down everything that I want and will be approaching my parents in order to find a compromise. Yes, funerals are for the living and being able to remember that person for who they were. I am not all of the things my parents wanted me to be, and I want them to understand this as they deal with my passing. I am willing to compromise, so, wish me luck. I will attempt to keep up with everything, and as lame as this sounds, I'm off living my best life and trying to do something different every day, so, I won't always have my phone. Tomorrow we are traveling to the fucking Everglades so I can watch my husband be terrified while on an airboat. It's going to be awesome. Update. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you all for the kind words, support and love that everyone has offered and given. These weeks have been the most difficult I have ever experienced, and it is with great sadness that I tell you all that my beautiful and cat-crazy wife has passed. I've had to cut this short due to character limits, sorry all. But, she did leave all of you a note, Reddit. I've copied everything verbatim below. She truly loved everyone and was smiling so much after her first post. I'll take my leave here. Much love. Reddit, if you're reading this, I am dead. Pretty crazy to be talking to a dead person, eh? It feels a bit strange to be writing this. If this feels a bit disconnected, I'm sorry. I have to take frequent breaks as I get tired pretty quickly now. My husband offered to write these words, such a sweet ham, I know. Be nice to him, okay? But, I wanted my last words to be written by me. Long story short, we talked to my parents. A lot of people asked about why my husband wasn't planning the funeral and my parents were taking control. Honestly, my parents didn't take the news of my passing to come well, and I suppose their closure was to try and take control of what they could. I'm not angry at them for it, I understand. They had already prepaid a large portion of the service, and to put it plain and simple, it was a shit hand they were dealt. So, we talked to them. I laid it all out for them and somehow, we reached a compromise. Lots of tears. Lots of hugs. And surprisingly, lots of laughs. They admitted that they had been losing their faith with everything that had happened and their way to attempt to find it again was to take control and guide me into the afterlife. Not my thing though, and I explained that I am not them, but their daughter who wanted to live her last weeks in peace, not the turmoil they were putting me through. And while a lot of people stated that funerals are for the living true, I firmly believe that a funeral is for the living to remember that person as who they were, not what anyone else wanted them to be. My parents seemed to understand when I told them that. They were not on board with the party favor aspect though, kind of a bummer. Pretty lucky to plan my own funeral, honestly. But, now that that is all said and done. Thank you, guys. I was blown away by the responses. I was moved to tears and I wish I had had the chance to meet every single one of you. You all be good now, right? Take it one day at a time and fucking enjoy yourself. You only get one life, unless you're someone who has survived death, then you're just a fucking hero and probably a cat with a few lives to spare. I love you all. I'm resting easy now. This disease sucks and I'm happy to be rid of it. And laugh and love and cry and be sad. Shit happens. I've got to go now, I'm gonna go snuggle my husband and my cats. Keep it real, Reddit. Love you all. Stories number 2. Aita for wanting to play D&D online with headphones in. My 34F partner 34M of 15 years is blaming me for his ongoing depression because I play D&D online with headphones in. I've played D&D for years, one casual homebrew campaign and one recent Curse of Strahd campaign. My partner always said he wants lots of kids, and last year our first was born. I stopped playing until I wasn't breastfeeding anymore, then attempted to return to the homebrew game one Saturday a fortnight. While I was pregnant he suddenly demanded to meet everyone I was playing with and see where we were playing. When I tried to return after giving birth he resented me going to the game, would often try to delay me going and would sometimes call and interrupt the game for minor issues. On the Saturdays I did not play, I was in charge of baby's care and bedtime while he had drinks and games with his friends. The game started after baby was born and initially was played in our home but became impossible for me to concentrate on the game with the baby around, so we moved to playing at a different house. He was still seen to me leaving on time and would call and interrupt the game. Even if baby was with a sitter. With COVID I have been playing online, in a different room with my headphones in. Usually I arrange for the grandparents to have baby because otherwise I still find myself interrupted too much to focus on the game max 5 hours. 2 weeks ago the game was cancelled but the group still chatted. I had headphones and my partner kept trying to interrupt and ask me things, which splits my focus, so I was getting annoyed. Afterwards we talked about it, and he said that he doesn't like the headphones because it excludes him, it's making him chronically depressed, and that there's no point in him getting therapy for the depression if I'm going to keep doing the thing that causes it, which is isolating myself and putting in headphones to play D&D. The following week I tried without headphones. But it is so hard for me to focus on the game, especially around him and baby, that I was brought to tears and we only played for 2 hours, but he was still unhappy about it. He says I need to adjust my standards about how I play, but I want to be able to focus and immerse properly in the game. I've already changed the hours that I play and tried without headphones, but it doesn't work. At the same time he's been increasingly concerned about IT security, so I currently can't use my laptop. He reset my iPad and phone multiple times and he wants me to get a new phone number. I've also, at his request, reduced my work hours so I'm more available for baby, even though I had full-time work and he is technically unemployed but trading crypto. I changed what I can change for him, but I don't want to give up D&D or play in a less engaged way because I enjoy it so much and lean on it for my mental health. I want him to get therapy, but have I been the holy? Relevant comments. OP added in the comments. OP here. So, I have the opportunity to move into a house only 2 minutes drive from where my brother lives, which I'm going to do. I can take baby and the pets, but it's next month. That's also when my credit card is due for renewal, and the new one is going to be posted to my brother's house instead of me. I am setting that up to move out. I have tried to talk to my partner and present 2 options, get therapy or break up. He's taking it kind of weirdly, first morose but now seems to think it will all blow over and we'll work it out on our own, without a therapist. That will not happen, there have been multiple tries over the last 2 years. I'm going to let him calm down for the weekend because I'm hoping I can get an uninterrupted Curse of Strahd game in after this talking good leaving, but we'll see. Work knows what's happening. I've also emailed my partner's psychiatrist with details of his behavior, so if he won't go to therapy at least somebody knows. I won't log in very often because of lack of opportunity, but I really think I am going to leave. Thank you so much to those that replied. I was trying to think of something I hadn't tried, some other way to play D&D and still keep him happy. But I shouldn't have been. You just start to doubt yourself when you've been stuck in the mists for a while. Update. Hi folks, just wanted to offer you all a little update since so many of you offered the perspective on reality to get myself and my kid into a better place. So I gave my ex the ultimatum that either he and or we get therapy, or we separate. And he chose no therapy because therapists always take one person's side, so I forced the separation. He moved out 6 weeks ago. I've been in my new home for a month, and it is like the fog has lifted. Life is basically better in every way. The more time I spend away from him, the better I feel. I'm back up to almost full-time hours, which suits me well with a toddler. I have significantly more freedom and am going to make our home beautiful for the two of us. Since the separation, some of the highlights of his behavior include not packing anything at all with almost a month's notice until the last 4 hours before he had to leave. When he came to visit our kid at my home, he already knew where I would be living. He wanted me to look up the closest train station, the bus route, and the direction for him instead of figuring that out on a 3-hour trip himself. Walked into my home like he owned the place, lay on my bed to pat the cat, raided my pantry, said he was going to take my remaining tea because I don't drink it and he does. I said no, it's for guests, and after our child was in bed offered to cook everyone himself, myself, and my 3 friends serving his guardian's dinner out of my freezer and still packed kitchen. I found a journal of his while I was packing his things. Turns out he did think I was having an affair at D&D. His reasoning was that I was always happy after a game, and he'd noticed changes in my appearance and behavior which, for the record, he had requested I do a few weeks earlier. Also turns out his version of enough sex in a day is 3 to 5 encounters. He paid a junkie down the street for a blowjob when I was pregnant. He seems to have felt bad about that. At various points in our conversations he has blamed me for trying too hard in the relationship, for misinterpreting his actions and words, even direct quotes, for not booking a therapist for him and for not assuming the best of him anymore. The kiddo is doing great though. She hasn't actually noticed his absence at all and is having the best time in the new house. I'm also going to turn the dining room into a Dungeons and Dragons and dining room, because I can. So, thank you. I know a lot of you read these things just for entertainment, but seriously, thank you. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Crumbs. I think if I had sex 3 to 5 times a day I'd be broken inside a week. Reply. That journal entry was from when I was pregnant too. And working full time. And afflicted by morning sickness. It was an impossible expectation. When told to get checked for STDs, don't worry, results came through Wednesday, all in the clear. Figured I deserved a small bit of luck on my run. OOP did make her D&D dining room. Strad's castle dinner. My D&D dining room, posted after our castle dinner with Strad with my DM's permission. To add to the wow effect, I'd upgraded the table between the previous game and this one to make it longer, allowing suddenly extra room, and changed all the chairs to high backs. The ravens and trees were added especially for the Barovian mood. And yes, we served garlic bread as part of the first course. Stories number 3. Mysael wore white to my wedding and her excuse was I was already dressed. I 42F married the absolute love of my life 48M 2 years ago. It was my first wedding, and his second. He had been married for 26 years before we got together. His ex-wife and his sister my now Asael are best friends, which I actually respect. That's a long history, and I understand that relationships like that have value. Now, let's get to the drama. During the wedding, I was floating on joy and nerves. I didn't notice every detail. But later, as I was going through photos, one picture made me do a double take. My husband was in the center, and off to the right, someone in a white dress caught my eye. At first glance, I thought it was me. But when I looked closer and saw it was only his family in that picture, I realized, it was my sister-in-law. In a solid white dress. Now, I noticed this after the wedding. I brought it up to my husband while we were talking with my stepdaughter, and she chimed in too. Clearly she noticed it as well. It became one of those things I'd occasionally bring up, especially when other little SAL things came up. She's a pick-me type with strong mean girl energy, if you know what I mean. Fast forward 2 years. My husband, ever the peace seeker, wanted this tension resolved and brought it up to her. To her credit, she decided to come to me directly. Respect where it's due. The convo went like this: me, yeah, it was shitty that you wore a white dress. I figured you did it to be petty or spiteful since I was marrying your best friend's ex-husband. Her, maybe I was, who knows. But think about how I feel, knowing you're holding a grudge about what I wore. I didn't know. I mean, my daughter did tell me not to wear white to a wedding, but I was already dressed and ready to go. No apology. No self-reflection. Just deflection. At this point, I honestly don't care how she feels about me holding a grudge. I knew if I brought it up earlier, she'd react the same way she did during that conversation. That's exactly why I never did. I laugh now because the dress she wore was a little see-through, instant karma if you ask me. Maybe I didn't give enough healing time between my husband's divorce and our marriage, but I knew I wanted to build a life with him. The marriage is beautiful. The sister-in-law. Just an added challenge. Stories number 4. How do I explain to my girlfriend that my autism isn't something I can change? Hiya everyone, I'll cut to the chase. I'm autistic 21M and my girlfriend is neurotypical 22F. We've not been together for long, but recently she's been telling me I need to stop using my stemming toys. For context, I really like tennis balls. I like to squeeze them and roll them in my hands because it helps stim my touch sensory in a nice way, and sometimes when we go for a walk I like to bounce them off the ground and catch them. My girlfriend says I'm childish and need to stop doing it because I'm embarrassing her in public playing with a tennis ball like I do. How do I explain in a way that's calm and to the point that I need my tennis balls to calm and regulate my emotions in a way she won't brush off as childish or self-centered? Top comments. Commenter 1. Your GF told you she is embarrassed to be seen with you and you think this is something she can be talked out of. Her issue is other people's opinions being more important to her than your comfort. Which, notably, caring if other people see you as childish is about as immature as a person can get, so maybe let your GF know to invest in a mirror. Commenter 2. Get a new GF. She's already showing you that she's prioritizing other people's opinions over your comfort, and that's a red flag. You can try to explain and I'll go in one ear and out the other. She will gaslight you into thinking that it's always your fault. Run away from this one, my friend, because nothing good can come from this. Update. So my girlfriend actually came around shortly after I posted this. I went to the bathroom and when I came back through, C was looking at all your comments on the post. I let her read them and she looked up to me and asked to talk about it, so we did. I explained how I use my tennis balls to stim and control my anxiety and focus on us when we're together. She really didn't understand at all and asked if I could use a more subtle thing to stim with so she's not embarrassed when we're out together. I told her no. I've tried hundreds of different things for stemming, and tennis balls are one of the few things that actually help me, and that if she's embarrassed that I like fidgeting with a tennis ball, that says more about her than it does me. We had a little fight and she started crying, asking why I can't just be normal. I told her I have a disorder and if she can't deal with that and what comes with it, I'd rather not be with her at all. So we broke up. She sent me some hurtful ableist texts and even left me a voice note screaming that I'm a retard, so I really do feel like I dodged a bullet here thanks to you all. Don't worry, she's blocked and I've sent screenshots of her messages and voicemails she sent me to her friends because they deserve to know their friend sucks. It's epically funny because 2 of her friends have ADD, so I think they'll love to hear what she thinks of people on the spectrum. I'm feeling a little bummed out. Of course, she is the first relationship. We've been going out for only 4 months, but it meant a lot to me that I can actually have a relationship with someone. But ultimately a lot of you were right, she wouldn't budge and didn't really care for understanding my autism or me on any deeper level. So that you all for your comments and the support. It's been beautiful to hear so many autistic and neurotypical people come together like this and tell me what I need to hear and make me recognize my worth. Thanks for all the comment and your perspectives, and have a great day everyone. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Definitely dodged a bullet. She seems to be the one having problems. If that's her reaction after a breakup, it's one thing to ask someone not to do a stim because it's overstimulating, but because she finds it embarrassing is just rude and shows she cares more about how other people perceive her than your emotional well-being. Reply. Yeah, well, it's in the past for me. No, it hurts right now, but I'll find someone who actually wants to be with me and face the challenges that come with dating an autistic person. Commenter 2. I think you meant, enjoy the bonus features that come with dating an autistic person, lol. OOP on what the deal with the tennis ball was and what his girlfriend was like. I've been trying to think what reason she'd have for being so embarrassed about me using a tennis ball, and I can't really think of one besides that's how high school conditioned her to see the world. She was pretty popular and was in, as I'd call it, the cool kid group, whereas I was also popular, but because I talked to pretty much everyone in my year and never judged people for their differences, whereas she seemed to be kind of a bully for what I picked up on her stories of her high school experience. I don't know if that's the answer, but I've never cared about fitting in because I'd rather be myself and look strange than blend in by hiding who I am. But that's just my thoughts. Stories number 5. AITJ for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay at my house even though he's family now. For the sake of this we will call the sister's boyfriend Jake. So, I 28M live alone in a small apartment in the city. My younger sister 24F recently started dating this guy, Jake, and she's been talking about how he's family now and should be treated as such. The thing is, Jake has never even visited my place until recently. A few weeks ago, my sister asked if Jake could stay over at my apartment for a night because they were having car troubles and it's just easier if he stays with family. I was hesitant but said okay, thinking it'd be just one night. But after that, Jake started showing up more often, sometimes just hanging out for hours, sometimes staying overnight without asking. I work from home and need my space, and frankly, I don't really like Jake much. I'm not comfortable sharing my home with someone I barely know just because he's dating my sister. I finally told my sister that I don't want Jake staying over anymore unless I explicitly agree beforehand. She got upset and said I'm being selfish and not welcoming him as part of the family. So, AITJ for setting boundaries and refusing to treat Jake like he's family when he's barely even been around. Update, AITJ for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay at my house even though she says he's family now. Did not expect this to blow up like it did. Thanks to everyone who commented, I honestly just wanted to know if I was being too harsh. Reading all your replies made me feel a lot more sane. So here's what's happened since. My sister found the post. She's not happy. She messaged me saying I embarrassed her and Jake, and that I made him look like he's some kind of burden. I didn't respond at first, but I eventually told her I was asking strangers because I didn't want to blow things up with her. Also, I never used their real names, and I didn't even think it would get any attention. Jake hasn't said anything directly, but apparently he saw it too. One of our cousins sent me a screenshot of a group chat where he said I was twisting everything and trying to make him look like a joke. That stung a little, but I'm still not changing my mind. I told my sister again, if Jake wants to visit, that's fine, but only if I agree ahead of time. Showing up at 11 p.m. without notice is never okay. Thanks again for the support. I really didn't expect this to turn into what it did, but I feel way more confident sticking to my boundaries now. Might update again if anything else happens. Stories number 6. Aita for being mad at my wife saying breaking up with her ex was one of her biggest regrets to friend who is dating him. It's pretty much just the title. The other day, one of my wife's friend was talking to her about a guy she was dating. It just happened to be my wife's ex. The convo went to the friend having some doubts about the guy. My wife said this and I quote, "He is the sweetest and most wonderful guy. Breaking up with him is one of my biggest regrets." And my immediate response was, "Excuse me," and it took my wife too long to catch on. She was like, "What?" And it took her a while to process what she said. I told her never mind for now, and let her finish the convo with her friend. Granted, her friend left pretty soon after that. We talked about it, and honestly I'm still pretty pissed. She said she just got caught with it, and that she didn't really mean it. Honestly, it didn't make me feel any better tbh. I've been keeping some space from her. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. But there is little to go on here. Doesn't everyone have a, the one that got away, kind of ex? Or person? I do, but I'm not naive enough to know it's more just dreaming about the unknowns and what ifs of that one seemingly perfect person who I broke up with. I also dream about all the clothes I never bought and places I didn't go. It takes nothing away from who I chose to be with today. Reply, I don't. I have zero regrets about anyone in the past. Maybe after hearing this, maybe I should. Downvoted commenter, NTA, I can imagine that hearing her say that stung. However, it doesn't sound like she literally meant that she wishes she was still with this guy. It sounds more like an embarrassing moment where her words just came out all wrong. I vote for allowing her to apologize, talking it through, and forgiving her. If you freeze her out, it is more likely to blow things way out of proportion and turn it into a bigger mess than it needs to be. Reply, I vote for allowing her to apologize. I mean, she's welcome to. She tried to explain that she didn't mean it, and it was just a dumb thing to say, but no actual, I'm sorry. Commenter 2, bruh, she can still have fond memories about her ex but she's with you so don't trip my dude. Reply, there's a huge difference between having fond memories and considering her breakup to be one of her biggest mistakes. If she never made that mistake, we'd never be together. Commenter 3, maybe she regrets how she broke up or who she was not to appreciate him and has since matured. Ask her why it's her biggest regret. Listen to her. Talk to her about how hearing that made you feel. Reply, ask her why it's her biggest regret. I did, she wouldn't give me a straight answer. Just that she didn't mean it that way. Commenter 4, I'd bet her friend, like you, realized exactly what that meant and what it implies if your wife is around her BF going forward. Reply, that's what made it even worse. Her friend caught on right away. I saw the look on her face when she turned to look at me. Even she understood what my wife said before my wife. Update 1. It hasn't been good for our marriage. I feel so unloved by my wife right now. Honestly, ever since she said that, it feels like I just want to get further away from her. She still refuses to apologize, and keeps insisting that she didn't mean it that way. She told me she's getting sick of this. I really don't want to divorce over this of all things, and we are gonna go into counseling. I want to at least try, but damn, I have never felt so lonely in my life. I don't even want to look at her. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, she made a mistake. She obviously didn't mean it that way. She just needs to consider your feelings and apologize. Reply, she just needs to consider your feelings and apologize. Yeah, and she hasn't. That's the problem. Commenter 2, the least she could do is apologize, and if she didn't mean it in that way, then why can't she give you a genuine sorry? You deserve better from your partner OP. Reply, according to her, she has nothing to apologize for. She says she didn't mean it that way, and that should be enough. Commenter 3, if she didn't mean it that way, what way did she mean it? Ask her to explain exactly what she meant. Reply, I tried. She just won't explain herself. Commenter 4, why won't she explain? Like what excuses does she use? Reply, weirdly enough, a lot of the excuses I'm hearing on here. I married you, the past is the past. Update 2, we are separated now. We have been having trouble finding a counselor that we are both comfortable with. And fights have happened more often. I gave up on my marriage once she said that her ex probably wouldn't be such a whiny baby and that she was right in regretting breaking up with him. I think she realized what she said and she tried to take it back. She said, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I was already halfway done with this marriage. After hearing that, I don't think we can come back from this. I'm speaking to a divorce lawyer. I feel terrible. I feel like an idiot. I feel so alone right now. I just don't know how to feel. Honestly, posting this helps a bit. Helps gets my thoughts together. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, listen to your lawyer. Focus on finding a counselor for yourself. If you can try to get away for just a weekend without her. Good luck. Reply, well, thinking about it now, there was a counselor I liked that my wife didn't. Might go to them if they do individual sessions. Commenter 2, I hope you find peace, my fellow dude. Your STBX lacks empathy, compassion, respect, and the ability to admit when they were wrong. The entire thing could have been avoided had she just admitted she didn't understand how much it affected you, she was wrong, and not say the one single thing that would detonate the marriage. If her parents and friends are still around, I would personally tell them why the two of you are getting separated and divorced. The simple fact that she said she regretted breaking up with her ex-boyfriend, couldn't apologize for it, and then double down on that after calling you a whiny baby, and that she was right in regretting breaking up with him. Tell everybody that she's the one that ended the marriage by saying that she regretted breaking up with him and marrying you. Her words, not yours. Don't let her get away with the narrative of making you look like a bad guy. Considering you have a witness to the first event that started this all, I'd say she should live in the bed she made and that everyone can know what an absolute witch she was. He who makes the narrative wins the battle, and frankly letting her spin this would probably just make your life miserable. I let an ex-girlfriend do that to me, and it took me the better part of 8 years to sort out all the lies. Learn from my mistake, be truthful, but blunt. Those that will stay around you will stay. Those that want to leave aren't worth having around. The biggest thing that most of us don't do is speak up for ourselves before the asshole in the relationship creates the narrative. Best of luck and stay strong. Commenter 3, that's a really fucked up thing to say, damn. I don't know if I could come back from that low blow NGL. Commenter 4, your soon-to-be ex is a special kind of stupid. She said something that kills most marriages and had plenty of time to think about what she said, then went ahead and doubled down. That is a special kind of stupid. I think she enjoys hurting you. Good luck in your divorce, you will thrive in the years to come. Stories number 7. If I don't like it, tell it to the news. I guess we're going to the news then. My mother was a truly inspiring woman. Her favorite phrase was, why say bleed when you can say hemorrhage, because she never did anything halfway when she knew she could go all the way. We couldn't even ask for help with homework because you'd be up till 3 a.m. on a school night, adding one more thing. Then you'd go to school with this magnum opus while everyone around you phoned it in and still got an A. She would rarely get angry, but if you activated her righteous indignation, the repercussions would be legendary. There was one such story of malicious compliance that she always loved to tell, and I just found the receipts, so I wanted to share it with everyone. It all started one day when I found a dagger in my brother's room. It was an ornate sort of fantasy-style dagger. Not something you would find just anywhere, and it was very sharp. We were not old enough to have something like that at the time, he was only 11. Immediately, my mother walked up behind me and caught me red-handed, so I did what any self-respecting little brother would do and threw him under the bus. My brother wasn't at home at the time, so she went through everything and found more of these knives. She laid them out on the table, and she was psyching herself up for the hell she was going to bring down upon him. By the time my brother gets home, he walks in and sees her sitting there with the knives out. He goes white as a sheet. She immediately asks where he got them. This was the late 90s, and my brother was pretty into Magic, the Gathering. The card shop he went to for his fix was just down the street. He spent a great deal of time there and bought boxes and boxes of these cards from them, so they knew him and knew he was too young. They had sold it to him, knowing full well that he was underage, no questions asked. My mother's jaw dropped, and moments later, we were pulling up to the place. She drags my brother into the store and puts the knives down in front of the woman who owns the place. She tells her that they had sold it to him. Yeah, so what? He is not 18, and he shouldn't have access to these. You need to tell your employees to check IDs before they sell weapons to minors. She was willing to give her the benefit of the doubt before she snapped back with, "It's a joke, it's humor, don't you get it? So the problem is you. I am his mother, and I don't think it is funny. If you won't follow the law at the very least, I need you to stop selling weapons to my son. I'll do whatever I want. If you don't like it, tell the news." Surely this woman doesn't know who she is talking to, or the lengths that my mom was willing to go for her kids. I don't know why on earth that would be the phrase you'd use. Now you are just asking for it. Mom gives her one last chance before the hammer drops. So you are saying that even without my permission, having asked you not to personally, and knowing it is illegal, you would still sell a knife to him? Of course, this is a business, maybe raise him better if you don't like what he is doing. It was like the air left the room. There were 3 of us boys in elementary, middle school, and high school around the time. She was president of all 3 PTAs for 3 different schools miles apart from each other. She was practically moaming as a sport and crushing it by every conceivable standard. This woman had just slighted her to her core, and now had to deal with the consequences of her ignorance. My mom didn't say another word. She gathered the knives, and we walked out. Even the woman behind the desk looked a little shocked that she was just walking out. So was I. We all went back to the car, and no one said a word. Then you could almost visibly see the resolve set in, and she says, "I guess we are going to the news then." I don't remember her saying another word the rest of the night. The next day, I woke up and she had papers all around her that she had downloaded and printed off, and highlighted. She was on the phone explaining the story to a news station who just opened and responding to emails she'd sent overnight. I don't think she slept. She had been up researching the laws and building her case. The first reporters she talked to didn't seem to see what she saw in the story, and told her they wouldn't pick it up. Every time she was told no, she would ask for references to someone who would do something like this. It took weeks of phone tag. She called the next reporter, then another, leaving messages and following up. Finally, she found an investigative reporter who would work with her. They decided that the best course of action was to put a hidden camera on my brother to send him undercover to buy something larger. Believe me, I am well aware of how outlandish that sounds. They met up down the street and gave my brother some money to buy the biggest weapon he could get. I seem to remember it being $120. Wired him up with a microphone and a spy camera they'd bought at a Radio Shack, and he went in and he bought a legit full sword from the place. They jokingly told him not to kill anyone with it as he was walking out, and never asked to see an ID. Afterwards, the reporter interviewed the store owner, who stuck with her old fallback of it being funny to sell deadly weapons to kids. Then they interviewed my mom outside the shop, and the 2 of them argued on camera. Maybe because they had already caught her on a hidden camera, she felt the need to double down. She had to think people would side with her for some reason. She was irate. My mom just kept feeding her the rope to hang herself with, and the shop owner tied the whole thing into a neatly wrapped bow for the reporter. Just a spectacular failure on her part. It's hard to imagine how it could have gone worse. Sure, it is just a local news report from the 90s. For my mom, it was her hero moment. She knew she was right, and she knew this person had to be stopped, and she did it all the way. Just like everything she ever did. In the report, they say that they went back, and the place was already closed. Within a month, it was completely out of business. The reporter won an award for the piece, and the righteous indignation was satiated for the time being. My mom recorded the airing of the report on a VHS tape, and every chance she got, she would parade it around to show people her crowning achievement. She would tell the whole story and we'd all watch the tape until it was lost to time and became legend. Through some effort, I have found the video. Stories number 8. I 28F tested positive for an STD and I can't find any evidence of husband 29M cheating. I'm coming to you all in need of advice on how to handle this situation. I feel like I'm in complete shock and I can't think straight. Any advice on how to proceed in this situation would be greatly appreciated. Background: my husband and I are high school sweethearts. We have been together since 2012 and have been married for 6 years and we have a 2-year-old. Timeline: January, I got off birth control so we could get pregnant. This was a mutual decision. February, got a severe UTI. Got treated and symptoms improved. DRS office cultured my urine and confirmed the antibiotics would treat it. March, got another severe UTI. I visited the same DRS office and they said it probably hadn't cleared up and gave me the same antibiotics. May, had my yearly OBGYN appointment and mentioned that I had a bad UTI previously. OB said to come back to her if it came back. Well, it came back but they didn't have nurses doing urine analysis that week, I don't know. So she prescribed me a different type of antibiotic. And said to come in if I have any issues. June, get a severe UTI again, go to the doctor, they do a urine analysis and cultured it but nothing grew. I was referred to a urogino doctor, I go to urogino and my urine culture comes back normal. After speaking with my mom, she suggests going back to OBGYN to get tested for STDs. At this point I'm desperate to get any answers. Monday 7/14 got a panel done and I found out 7/17 I tested negative for everything but trick. I have been faithful to my husband and the thought of cheating on him is repulsive. Here is the confusing part. I confronted him and he is persistently saying he has never cheated on me. I kept calling him a liar and pushed him to tell me who it was. I kept reminding him that I have an STD, only transmitted by sexual acts, and that I have been faithful. I went through his phone, I checked all of his apps. Previously downloaded and currently downloaded, nothing. I went through his Facebook Messenger, nothing. I went through his Snapchat, nothing. I went through his Instagram messages, nothing. I went through his call logs, nothing. I went through his car, nothing. I went through his credit card statements, nothing. He gave me his phone and said he would do anything to prove he hasn't been unfaithful. I'm completely stumped. We share our locations, in his significant locations there was nothing suspicious. Now what? Update: Friday I called my OB's office and asked if there was any other way I could have gotten it and the nurse told me no, it's only transmitted sexually. I then asked her when the last time I was tested for STDs and she told me in December of 2022 and I was negative for everything, I did not have anything. Because of this conversation I assumed she knew I was talking about trick because I asked about it before I asked for my labs. Also, why would she not tell me trick wasn't included if that's what we were discussing beforehand? Later Friday we called my aunt who is a nurse that works in the same hospital and asked her and she said she didn't think trick was tested for in pregnancy. She had to manually pull up my labs from 2023 and found trick was not tested for. Friday afternoon we also both got tested again for it and expect labs to be back Monday. I don't think my husband has cheated and I have not cheated. I also let him go through my phone etc. because that's only fair. I have apologized to him for jumping his shit. I also have to look at it from his side as well. He knows he hasn't been unfaithful and then I all of a sudden have a STD. We are going to start couples therapy soon and we are also going to bring my child to the pediatrician to get tested for trick as we have taken many baths together. If you would have asked me any day before Thursday if my husband would cheat on me I would tell 100% no without a doubt. We are solid. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You need to post in a medical sub. Trick can be asymptomatic in men and women for years. Commenter 2. Although not very common, it is possible that you guys have had trichomoniasis for years and not have show any symptoms. Since you stopped using birth control your pH changed and this may have triggered the outbreak of symptoms now. In any case make sure both you and your partner get fully treated. Commenter 3. Do either of you go to the gym? It can be transmitted via non-sexual means, damp objects being the primary cause of this type of transmission. Did either of you ever use a gym towel that wasn't washed properly, or sat on a machine with a damp seat while wearing very thin clothing, or sat on the bench in the locker rooms, etc.? Have either of you ever tried on a bathing suit without keeping your own underwear on? Or wore a new suit without washing it first. Commenter 4. I had an STI test recently and it came back positive with trick, had never been tested for this before because it's not on the regular tests. I've never had symptoms and the doctor said I could have had it for years. Apparently around 80% of people don't have any symptoms. Also, heard there's rare cases it can be transmitted by sitting on toilets etc. Ask him to get tested too. Also check your levels. The closer it is to 38 the less contagious. Hope it all works out for the best for you. OOP's comment. He is going to go today to the doctor to get tested. What are the odds of it being transmitted non-sexually? He deals with people's dirty clothes, restaurant towels/aprons, floor mats, bathroom soap dispensers, toilet paper dispensers etc. Commenter 5. I'm a high school teacher and am not the only one who contracted trick from the bathrooms at my school. That's how we found out multiple teens were meeting in the bathroom to hook up all at once. OOP's reply. WTF, I am a high school teacher. We both went and got our urine tested Friday and we both tested negative for trick. We are still going to get rechecked with urine, swab, and blood to be sure we don't have it. Stories number 9. Bride and groom trying to cancel my paid resort booking out of spite. Can they actually do that? I'm part of a destination wedding group booking through a travel agent. I paid for my full share of the resort reservation under my name, including flight and hotel, and was originally part of the bridal party. Due to personal conflicts and repeated emotional disrespect from the bride and groom, I chose to respectfully withdraw as a bridesmaid. No drama, no hostility. I made it clear that I was still attending the trip as a guest, separate from the wedding events. The bride removed me as a bridesmaid after already losing 6 others. I was the second last one. She then cut off all communication and told me I'd need to speak to her fiancé instead. He proceeded to threaten that unless I speak to her and resolve things on her terms, I would not be allowed to attend at all. I accepted the situation with grace and wished them well. But now they've retaliated by saying that since I'm not attending the wedding, they've cancelled my entire reservation. Even though I paid in full, the room is in my name, and I'm sharing it with another bridesmaid. The booking is under their group contract with the resort, but I have the invoice and confirmation under my name. They even told me, do not attempt to show up, which feels like intimidation more than anything else. The resort says they can see the group, but not individual bookings, and that it's all managed through the travel agent. I've emailed the agent it's the weekend and I'm hoping she can confirm my spot. The trip is less than 2 weeks away, and I'm just trying to enjoy the vacation I paid for, separate from the wedding drama. My family and friends are livid, and yes, I will take legal action if this isn't resolved. But for now, I just want clarity. Has anyone gone through something like this before? Any advice on how to protect myself or what steps to take next? Thank you. I'm not looking for more conflict, just peace. Update. Bride and groom trying to cancel my paid reservation out of spite. Hey everyone, I just need to start with how incredibly grateful I am for all the support, information, everything that's been offered here. I am wholeheartedly really thankful for you. Now for the good part, I still have the room. The bride and groom were bluffing. There was a lot of support on here of people confirming this. I see you. The agent ghosted me. A few people here said it might happen. I tried calling periodically again, my number started going straight to voicemail, and she hasn't replied to any emails. A majority of you told me to contact the hotel directly and I genuinely cannot thank you enough. A lot of people are wondering why I'm still going, and though I have confirmed it in the comments, I will reintegrate for clarity. I have prepaid the flight tickets, the reservation itself, booked time off work, purchased many things for this vacation, even the transfers between the hotel and airport are already done, and it's cost me roughly 5,000 Canadian dollars. This trip is less than 2 weeks away and the reservation for this hotel at this time is non-refundable. These are the key reasons why I was hoping for a resolution. I had contacted the hotel last Friday before I posted this on the weekend. They were able to find the group booking but the guy doing it wasn't able to find my reservation. I called again today to see if there was another department that could help and the lady that answered was phenomenal. She confirmed the booking, confirmed that despite the drama happening they can't cancel my reservation. As a few of you recommended, she did put a note on my reservation saying that I will be arriving and not to change it for any reason. Lastly, she told me to come and enjoy my trip as it's a wonderful vacation and I'm likely to have an incredibly good time. That this happens a lot and that everything will work out, the hotel has my back. And that, as they say, is that. Stories number 10. My neighbor's husband left today and it turned into a full-on daytime soap opera. At first, I thought someone left their TV too loud. But then I realized the yelling was real and it was coming from outside. I peeked out my front window and saw my neighbor standing on the porch barefoot, in her pajama pants and a tank top, screaming at her husband. He was dragging a giant suitcase to his car and completely ignoring her. She was yelling things like, "So you're just gonna walk out after everything? Be a man for once and say it to my face. You'll regret this when she leaves you too." Yes. Not even 10 minutes after the husband sped off, and I mean sped off, tires screeched, another car pulls up. A silver BMW. Out steps her sister, dressed like she just came from a casting for brunch in Beverly Hills. I'm not even kidding, my jaw dropped. The neighbor storms off the porch and yells, "Of course you show up now." The sister fires right back, "He needed someone who listens to him for once." Y'all, I choked on my iced coffee. They start going at it, yelling, finger pointing. My neighbor even pushes the sister's shoulder at one point. I had one foot out the door ready to break it up if it got physical. I'm texting my husband trying to keep him updated on what's going on. And in the middle of all this, the neighbor screams at her, "He was my husband. And you were supposed to be my sister." The sister responds in the calmest way after all the yelling, "He told me you would do this," then she straight up gets in the car and leaves. I think my neighbor is just too shocked to do anything. She kinda just watches her in shock, also calming down from the yelling. I'm thinking everything is starting to kick in. After her sister left, she just stood on the porch for a solid 5 minutes, then just went back inside. I'm thinking it's over and that was enough excitement for one day. Nope. Half an hour later I hear glass clinking loudly out of my office window. I look past our side yard and onto her side of the fence. I'm upstairs so I can see pretty much everything. She's outside again. Thus time tossing empty wine bottles into her trash one by one. She's doing this slowly and dramatically as if she wanted someone to hear. She finally sat down on the curb and lit a cigarette. First time I've ever seen her smoke. My cat and I just sat in the window watching like it was a season finale. No one's been back to the house. Her husband's car is still gone. Her sister hasn't returned. My neighbor closed all the blinds, and it's been silent ever since. I don't know if I just witnessed a cheating scandal, a sister betrayal, a midlife crisis, or all three at once. But I do know I'm making popcorn tomorrow in case there's a part 2. Update: thank you all for the replies and advice for this situation. I have never had a post get so much attention, and TBH not entirely sure if I'm updating this post properly by just editing and adding onto it, but here's what happened tonight. Okay, so like I mentioned in the original post, I decided to check on her tonight. Brought a plate of pasta, some steak we made, and garlic bread. Nothing fancy, just something warm. My husband also made some brownies earlier today, so I had to add those, because she deserved some, lol. I wasn't planning to stay long, or at all, just drop her off a meal like I mentioned. When I walked over, she answered the door pretty quickly. I was scared she might think I was someone else and blow up on me. I sorta braced myself, lol. Poor thing looked drained, to say the least. But she smiled a little when she saw the food and said, "You didn't have to do that." She had me come, and mind you, I've been in her house maybe once or twice before. Her house was dim. We sat down at her kitchen table, her drink was already poured, so, yeah. I asked her how she was doing. Not specifically referencing anything. And she just kind of exhaled. Basically, she confirmed what most of us were already thinking: her husband and her sister have been hooking up behind her back. She found out by accident, saw a message pop up on his iPad, and it all unraveled from there. She confronted him, he confessed, chaos ensued. That was the shouting match I witnessed. But then she started telling me more, and it kind of shifted the vibe. She said, and I quote, "I mean, yeah, I made it really easy for him to cheat. I haven't been emotionally available for months." She said some more stuff I can't fully quote word for word, but basically along the lines of saying she was focusing on herself and knew he was feeling neglected/ignored, but I just didn't think he'd be that dumb. Okay, starting to feel less like a telenovela and more like real life. Then she acknowledged her sister. So it's confirmed, yes, it was the sister. She explained that they've always gone back and forth and claimed that her sister has always been jealous of her. There's always been an element of competition. She made it sound like they weren't close as adults, and honestly it felt like she had come to terms with the sister part and was just upset with her husband at this point. She also admitted she had already emotionally checked out of the marriage months ago, but stayed because she wasn't about to be the one to call it. Said she likes the upper hand in every exit. Which, kudos to her, because she was sitting at her kitchen table admitting all this to her neighbor. Y'all. I was just sitting there, nodding, trying to take it all in. She talked for like 20 straight minutes. Barely paused. Honestly, it started sounding less like a heartbroken woman and more like someone who'd been strategizing damage control since the minute things blew up. She even said she told her mom not to call her sister to make it clear who the family was siding with. But, taking into account their relationship and background, it made sense for that reaction. There was a lot of emotion brewing in this situation. So yeah, he cheated. The sister crossed a line. But I'm going to be honest, the longer she talked, the more I realized, she's not just a victim here. The whole situation is messy. Every single person involved is somehow in the wrong. And the wild part? I still don't know who messed up more, the sister or the husband. I feel like this was poorly explained on my part and is going to get a lot of backlash, because reading this back it sounds like she is still the victim. But I don't know how to properly convey to you the way she used her words and her tone. There was a sense of evil, for lack of a better word. An almost calm acknowledgement of the fact that she knew this was going to happen, like it wasn't if, but when. Some other stuff we now have answers to. Husband, still gone. Staying with someone. She rolled her eyes when she said it, so I'm guessing yes, it's the sister. Sister, hasn't reached out. She blocked her. I think we all saw this coming. Neighbor, playing strong. Seems like she's accepted the fact of the matter. Me, confused and tired. One last thing. Before I left, she said something that kind of stuck with me. At least I didn't lose anything important. Just two people I outgrew anyway. And maybe that's her way of coping, or maybe that's just who she is. Either way, it was a whole different version of events than I was expecting. Stories number 11. Aita for not allowing Airbnb guests to use my patio. I bought a flat as an immigrant a few years ago in a bad reputation street of a bad reputation city in a bad reputation country in Europe. Now my street has been fully renovated and so has the facade of my building, because we got public funds for that. But the inside is still pre-war gray because we are fine with it. My flat is the only one that opens to the courtyard, and after speaking to the neighbors they were all enthusiastic for me to turn my corner of the courtyard into something pretty, on whichever way I felt. In this kind of buildings it is defined how much each apartment owns of the land, but not delimited. So I own, let's say, 5% of the land. Usually I would use it for a parking space, but it is not like you have a delimited parking space, and since I don't drive I asked the neighbors if I could take the corner next to my door as mine. This was a no parking space and everyone enthusiastically agreed to let me make a mini garden/patio. After the city and the street blew up with tourism, someone did some legal trickery to buy the flats on top of mine that were supposed to be saved for low-income people and turn them into Airbnb. We are not happy about it for many reasons, starting with those flats were supposed to be for actual low-income people. But to the actual conflict, I let my neighbors use my patio, but I've been kicking Airbnb guests out of it. Apparently the Airbnb host posts pictures of my little corner of the courtyard as a public space. I don't think it's a public space since I own part of the land and the Airbnb owner does not, and it has been accepted that this is my portion of the land. Now the Airbnb owner is saying that he will sue me for discrimination since I share my little patio with the other neighbors but I don't allow tourists in it, and he has had some negative reviews. I'm absolutely safe legally, but morally am I the asshole for not allowing tourists in my space when I let neighbors use it? Stories number 12. My boyfriend invited me to his dad's for dinner, and I ended up sitting there hungry while everyone else ate. Am I overreacting? Hi Reddit. I 21F have been with my boyfriend 22M for almost 2 years. For context, I've been pescatarian for about a year and 3 months. I only ate meat for the first few months of our relationship, so his family knows I don't eat meat. Yesterday was his grandma's birthday party. They had brisket and sides, so I just had fruit and veggies, totally fine since it was a big party and I'd had a smoothie beforehand. Later, his aunt texted that they were opening their pool on his dad's side of the family. His parents are divorced. We decided to stop by. The pool party was fun, but my clothes got soaked. Afterward, instead of going back to my house, where my grandparents were already planning to make tacos for both of us, we ended up changing plans and going to his dad's house because they were planning on eating there. At this point my clothes are still soaking wet, so I'm in his oversized shorts and shirt. I'm also on my period, stressed, and haven't had a real meal in hours. When we get to his dad's, they decide to make pizzas and burgers. My boyfriend is in charge of the pizzas, so I assumed he'd make a cheese one. Nope, it's a combination pizza. Burgers, hot dogs, combination pizza, literally nothing I can eat. Nobody asked me what I wanted, except earlier when someone offered me a burger. Obviously I said no. Which they later realized but didn't say anything. I started to get visibly upset, and my boyfriend asked what was wrong. I didn't want to make it a big deal, so we went outside to talk quick. Finally I asked him, "So were you just expecting me to sit here and watch everyone else eat in silence?" He kind of brushed it off, saying, "It's fine, I'll just eat and then we can leave and go to your house." But that annoyed me, because we had plans that would have involved both of us eating, and I would never do that to him at my house. Right before everyone ate, I went to the bathroom and teared up because I felt like crap, hungry, awkward, and uncomfortable. When I came back, everyone else had food, and I was just sitting there with nothing. To top it off, he handed me the tiniest side cup of waffle fries, like 6 fries, and when I said I didn't want them, he just ate them himself. It honestly just shocked me that no one in his family noticed or offered me anything. My grandparents would never let my boyfriend sit there without a meal, ever. So, Reddit, was I overreacting? Would you be upset if your partner put you in this situation? How would you handle it? Update: Hey guys, just wanted to give a little update and some more context. First off, a lot of people thought that my boyfriend was actively making a pizza, but what I meant was that it was just a frozen pizza, so there really wasn't much he could do about it in that moment. Where I feel he went wrong was not telling me right away that there wasn't really anything for me to eat. I kind of had to figure it out on my own. I wasn't standing near him when he put the pizza in the oven, so I didn't realize it was a combination pizza until the oven was almost done preheating. I do realize now that I should have brought something I could eat, but to be fair, I didn't even know we were going to his dad's house. I thought we'd be going to my grandparents' house where I live, so I wasn't prepared. Looking back, I think we were both a little in the wrong. It was just a sucky, awkward situation overall. I do think it was very inconsiderate, and we did have a long talk about it. But it's not something I can hold against him for the rest of his life. Also, a lot of people said I should have stuck up for myself. I'm honestly not a very outgoing person, and I really didn't know what to say in that moment. I know I need to work on that, but at the time I was just stuck in a super awkward situation and didn't know how to speak up. I don't blame his family at all, because it's not really their job to accommodate me. That said, as a host, I personally would never want to make someone feel like that. Lesson learned: I'll definitely be more prepared next time. Hopefully no one else ever has to be in that kind of uncomfortable situation because, yeah, it was not fun. Stories number 13. AIO My boyfriend thinks I'm only dating him because he's rich. I just need some advice. IF29 have been dating my boyfriend M35 for almost 6 months. We've known each other for about a year and a half. I'm a teacher and make around $50K a year and he is a lawyer, and while his yearly earnings vary based on which clients and companies he works with, it's always somewhere in the 6 figures. Recently, we attended a family get-together at my parents' house. My parents' MNF60s and older brother M35 had already met him before this, but also invited some of our extended family and my SL's family as well. Everything was going fine until my sister F32 walked in. We are low contact, we'd be no contact if my parents didn't want to have a relationship with her, and nobody told me she had been invited. When I asked my mom what was up, she said she invited her because she needed some encouragement. I was absolutely fuming, but decided to see how the night went and leave if my sister decided to stir anything up. Thankfully, my sister seemed fine and I didn't see her much. My boyfriend left early since he was tired and I thought that was that. Boy, was I wrong. A week passed with no messages from him, which is really weird. We text each other every day, just chatting about our days or making plans for dates. Then all of a sudden, he texts me to meet up at a park and that he wanted to talk about something important. I had no idea what was up. We meet, he doesn't hug me, also out of the ordinary, and I ask him what's wrong. First thing out of his mouth: "Are you dating me just because I'm rich?" What the hell? No, I'm not, and I tell him that. He just asks me again, like he doesn't believe me. I ask him where he's getting this from. It's so out of left field. Then he asks me if I've ever said all my problems would be solved if I married rich. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely have joked about that. But in the same way you say, maybe I should quit my job and move to Iceland and herd sheep for the rest of my life. Anyways, I tell him that and ask him again, where the heck is this coming from? He said my sister told him. Apparently, she introduced herself and they chatted for a bit. When he told her he was a lawyer, she said that makes total sense because OP always wanted to marry rich, looks like she's living the dream. Y'all. I could have screamed. I can't even describe the emotions I was feeling. My sister spent years bullying and abusing me, and she has the absolute audacity to take a joke I said when I was a depressed teenager with health issues out of context and misrepresent me to my boyfriend. Literally insane. I was shaking. I told my boyfriend that what she said was entirely out of context and he can't trust her. He just kept pressing and asking why she would say something like that so casually if it wasn't the truth. I told him because she's a narcissist who has spent years treating me like a punching bag and never taking accountability. He just couldn't get it. So I left. I told him that if he was going to take the word of one person who he just met over the word of all of my friends and family who will vouch for me that I'm not that kind of person, over all of the months he spent getting to know me as a person, then this wasn't going to work. The tears were already started to come down, but I managed to hold it together all right until I got to my card and just sobbed. I feel broken. I'm in love with my boyfriend. He is the first person I have ever felt comfortable being myself with. He truly is such an intelligent and mature person. The way he communicates in our relationship has been truly healing coming from the family dynamics I grew up with. But the biggest fear I've had with dating is that someone wouldn't trust me. That the person I love and trust the most would question me on who I am when I've already shown them. Which is why this whole situation is so confusing and painful. I don't get it. It's been a few days and I don't know where we go from here. I haven't texted him because I need space and he hasn't texted me either. Am I overreacting? I feel like he should have known better than to just take essentially a stranger's word over mine. Where do we go from here? Edit. Thank you for your comments, guys. I've been trying to read them all this morning. The commenter who talked about relationships being a two-way street really stuck in my head. I don't think I've handled this properly. That, and the commenter talking about me essentially being the dumper, and that if I don't want this relationship to end, I'm the one who needs to make that clear. All in all, I don't think I handled this situation well. I'm gonna text my boyfriend and see if we can actually just hash everything out. I'm not sure where things are gonna end up, but I know that neither of us can make a decision about anything if we don't talk about it. We'll see how it goes. Comments. Commenter 1. Has to be way more to this. If you're paying for all your own stuff, there's zero reason to believe you're with him for money. Is he paying your bills? Do you ask him for money? Does he spend a lot of money on you? Sounds like he's been taken advantage of before. Or he's flying too high in the sky. That kind of comment of marrying rich would make any man making good money feel uncomfortable. But if there's no reason to believe that, then it should be no issue. Reply. He doesn't pay my bills and I definitely don't ask him for money. I was raised with a "we don't have money for stuff like that" dad, so I find asking for money hard even if I'm owed it. He definitely is generous with how he spends money on me. On our first date he showed up with flowers and I was stunned because no one ever did that for me before. After I told him, he's bought flowers for every single date consistently. When I told him I was gonna wait a few months to take my car into the shop because then I'd have a bit more money saved, it was making a weird squeaking noise. He literally drove me and the car to the shop that day and told me not to worry about it, my safety was more important. Commenter 2. Then he's confused. He's letting a stupid comment get to his head from an unreliable source with zero context. That's a tough position for you to be in now and even harder in the future. Everything will be under a microscope. Anything he pays for the "marry a rich man" comment will pop up in his head and make him question if he's being used. There's so many stories of men being used for their money. Your sister planted a poisonous seed. That's fucked up. You shouldn't have to explain yourself. He knows the truth. You don't benefit from him in a way he could feel used. If you explain yourself, it's like you're begging him to understand what he already knows. Give it time and see if he comes to his senses. You need to talk to your sister about this. Not to get into your relationships with bullshit comments trying to paint you as some gold digger or in any negative way. Commenter 3. He's not that good at communicating actually, because you are correct, he shouldn't have taken a stranger's word over yours, let alone your narcissistic sister's. Did he not know to be wary of her ahead of time? You haven't shared y'all's relationship with him yet. Reply. Yes and no. I remember us talking about family on one of the first few dates. He's no contact with his family for various reasons and I brought up being low contact with my sister. He asked me why and I remember telling him that she bullied me a lot growing up and that she had a tendency to make everything about her. I know I didn't go into all the specifics because our relationship was still fresh and I figured I could go into the more serious stuff later, because it's a lot for a new relationship. But I guess the rest just never came up. My sister lives in a different city and I didn't see her at all since my relationship started, so out of sight out of mind, I guess. I know I should have been more upfront with the info, but it's very hard for me to open up about all of it. Commenter 4. I think just from that alone, he should have known to take what she said with a grain of salt. Update. Hi all. I just want to make an update since a lot has happened over the weekend. Hopefully this isn't too long of a read for you. Some commenters helped me realize that simply walking away from the conversation was not the right thing to do. I decided to text my boyfriend on Friday and sent him this message: "Hey boyfriend, I want to apologize for leaving things the way I did. I was really upset and hurt, so I left before my emotions got worse, which obviously didn't help the situation. Can we meet up this weekend and talk? I want to see if we can get on the same page and evaluate our relationship." He texted me back almost immediately and agreed to meet up at my place yesterday. I was pretty nervous, I'm not gonna lie. Some people thought that I should just break up with him, and others thought that maybe there was something deeper going on that he wasn't telling me. Either way, I wanted to get all the facts. When I opened the door, he was holding a bouquet of flowers and had a look on his face I have never seen before. It was a mixture of sad and concerned, which was kind of overwhelming because he's not really the type to be so expressive or emotional. He gave me the flowers, we sat down, and the first words out of his mouth were, "I'm so sorry, OP. I know if asterisk ked up." That apology just really calmed me down, because I was so afraid this was going to be a back and forth of us trying to defend ourselves for what happened. He said he was just about to text me to meet up and talk when I texted him. I thanked him for the apology, apologized for my reaction too, and asked him, "How did we get here? Can you just explain everything from the beginning so I can understand?" I was not prepared for what he told me. For some context, my boyfriend was not the person he used to be. He used to be a serial womanizer, workaholic type of guy. I was aware of all of this before we started dating. His dad, who is also a lawyer, was his idol. He wanted to be just like him. However, his dad had been married to his mom for many years, so that was where my boyfriend drew a line. He was fine hooking up with women while he was single, but as soon as he got married, that would be the end, and he would be a faithful partner like his dad. Unfortunately for him, things kind of all came crashing down when he found out his mom had been cheating on his dad for years. When my boyfriend told his dad about it, his dad told him to keep it to himself because his dad had also been cheating for years. I think they both knew about the other's affair partners and just decided they cared more about their image and reputation, so they never got a divorce. My boyfriend was floored. The idealized image of his dad was shattered and he got really depressed. He started drinking and going to bars more after work, and that's where he met our mutual friend, Matt, fake name. Matt was working as a bartender and got to know him a bit. Matt's a wonderful person, the type who really takes an interest in everyone. Matt helped him get a better handle on his life and they became friends. My boyfriend completely changed his lifestyle. He stopped over-drinking, cut his hours down from the 80 to 90-hour work weeks he used to do, and stopped objectifying women just to sleep with them. Matt later moved into my city for work, and I was introduced to him because he started dating one of my friends, Becca. My boyfriend and I actually met at Matt and Becca's wedding. Anyways, my boyfriend moved out here a few years ago to get away from his parents after his lifestyle changed, to essentially restart his life for good. So that brings us to last week, after I left the park. My boyfriend took what I said to heart, that the word of my family and friends should be enough for him to trust me, and went straight to Matt after to get his thoughts. My boyfriend said Matt was really kind, letting him explain what happened without interrupting, but then afterward Matt really laid into him. Matt asked him, "Do you really think OP would still be living in a crappy one-bedroom apartment if she was dating you just for your money? Has she ever given you any reason to question her before all of this?" My boyfriend admitted that I have never given him any reason to question my motives. That he knows I'm generous and not materialistic, but my sister's words got into his head. He said, "It was like listening to a child. They have no reason to lie you," so I believed it immediately. I actually don't blame him for that part. Every single person who has met my sister describes her as innocent and bubbly and has a very difficult time seeing her as anything but that. Even my parents still view her like this, despite them knowing how many people she's cheated on, how much of their money she's wasted and never given back, and how many times she's joked about killing/harming them or myself. I didn't know this next part, but my boyfriend opened up to Matt when they were first getting to know each other about how many women used him for his money. I knew that his last relationship ended badly while he still lived out east, but apparently this was the first major relationship after his lifestyle change, and he really loved her. He bought basically everything for her all of the time, and she still cheated on him. All of that led him to become really insecure about people's motives when it came to dating. He explained that even some of the nicest women just lit up and acted completely different when he told them he was a lawyer, and it completely killed any desire he had to get to know them better. He told Matt he didn't want to date anyone unless he knew someone who could vouch for them personally. Matt was the one who encouraged him to ask me out, because he already noticed we liked each other and told my boyfriend that I was a good person. Back to their recent conversation, Matt suggested that if my boyfriend needed more outside confirmation, he should listen to me and go talk to people in my life to get a better perspective on what kind of person I am. My boyfriend has actually spent the last week doing exactly that. He even went to my parents and told them what happened. Apparently, my mom was horrified. She really likes my boyfriend, so when she found out that inviting my sister had essentially caused a rift in our relationship, my mom got really upset. Her whole aspiration has always been to see all her children married, and since my sister has had nothing but failed relationships and I've otherwise been chronically single, knowing she did anything to mess up my relationship was probably pretty upsetting to her. He said that she was crying and very apologetic. He also asked her to give me space until he had had a chance to apologize to me himself. Which in hindsight makes a lot of sense, because my mom usually calls and texts me every day and has been MIA this whole week. All in all, my boyfriend said that my friends and family had nothing but good things to say about me, that I was absolutely not a gold digger, and anyone who even suggests that is just plain wrong. I was crying pretty hard by this point hearing everything. My boyfriend kept apologizing and saying he'd do anything to earn my trust back. But he also said that if our relationship was going to work, if my sister might pop up again unexpectedly, he needed to know everything. He wanted to be prepared for exactly what kind of person she is so that this kind of thing never happens again. So I told him. Not absolutely everything, because there's so much to cover, but once I started mentioning things I just kept going. I'm not going to get into the gritty details on Reddit because my sister might see it, and also a lot of it is really painful. But the long and short of it is she has untreated mental illnesses that she refuses to get help for. The times we have gotten her specific help, therapy, inpatient, medications, etc., she has been uncooperative or stopped treatment against medical professionals' advisement, and she has a pattern of abusive behavior in all of her relationships, both familial and romantic, that she never takes accountability for. This is why I'm low contact with her. By now you're probably wondering if I'm in therapy. I haven't been for some time because I've been working contracts and didn't have insurance coverage through work, but I will come September. Something my boyfriend both agreed to in this conversation is for both of us to get individual therapy. Him to deal with his unresolved insecurities and trauma around his parents and past relationships, and me because my sister did a number on me and I've never really opened up about it in therapy. We're also going to set scheduled, weekly times where we're not necessarily going to go on dates but have uninterrupted time to talk openly, especially on any insights we've had in therapy. By this point of the conversation, things were getting a little less heavy and I joked about how we both have the same trauma reaction of going silent when things get too intense. We both agreed that we didn't handle this well, and in the future, any and all concerns we have will be communicated properly and immediately. We're not going to run away from each other, and if we don't understand something, we're going to ask questions until we do. Since we talked for hours, we ended up just making dinner at my place and talking some more. I'm really hopeful for what comes next. That's a feeling I haven't felt for a while. Again, apologies for the long read. Typing everything out feels like a therapy in itself, lol. Comments. Commenter 1. No one told the OP that boyfriend came around asking about her. Odd. Reply. After my boyfriend's convos with Matt and then my parents, he basically had what he needed, in his words, to reassure himself of my intentions. Just to round things out, he casually reached out to a few more of my friends and my brother with a, "Hey, just curious how you would describe OP as a person and what her values are," text. Only one of my friends kind of questioned him about it, and he told her that he was in his head a bit and needed some outside reminders to reassure him of what he already knew. I'm not surprised none of my friends said anything to me. We usually update each other about stuff in person, so I imagine when I meet up with them they'll bring it up then. Commenter 2. Your BF is lucky to have a friend like Matt. He's the real MVP of this story. Commenter 3. I'm sorry, but your boyfriend is still an idiot and your entire family sucks. Your BF was so quick to believe your CTY sister after just meeting her. And then in order to make up he told you to tell him everything about your sister, in order to make the relationship work. Hell no, he should have asked when you warned him about your sister in the first place. Your mother should have been giving you that blubbering bullshit apology first. How did she think your sister turned out that way? Commenter 4. They're working it out. This is a good update compared to others on here. He didn't tell her, she had to tell him. Op says she told him everything. Needing to know is not the same as saying someone has to tell you, and it's good OP told him. Stories number 15. Aita for calling the cops on my dad's pregnant girlfriend or maybe wife. I 17 live full time with my mom. My dad was never even a part-time dad. He was a see you once or twice a year dad who didn't even devote that once or twice a year to me. Sometimes the only reason we saw each other is because my grandparents, his parents, included me in their lives. They both died a couple of years ago. The last 2 times I saw my dad he brought along his girlfriend, who I hadn't know about the first time, and her kids. The first time I spent the weekend with them and the second time it was a day with them. The last time was 8 or 9 months ago. I told him I didn't want him to keep showing up and he seemed totally eager to agree to that. As soon as that happened his girlfriend started seeking me out. We live in a small town so it's not that hard. But she would make a point to cross over to speak to me and she would ask me if I'd like to hang out more with her way younger kids. I said no and I told her though not exactly like this that I didn't want contact with my dad anymore so it didn't make sense for us to have contact either. She told me she'd like me to be a part of the family and to give it a shot now that her and the kids are around. I said I had my mind made up already. She'd keep seeking me out, trying to make me give them a chance. I tried to be nice and I told her I just had no interest when Dad made no effort to be near me. She even started approaching my mom who after a few times got so annoyed she told her to stay away from the 2 of us if she didn't want the cops and lawyers to get involved. Then she showed up at our house a few times. She came to tell me she was pregnant, she wanted to invite me to a big family lunch with her side and some relatives on his side. She came by to ask if I'd want to go to the park with her and her kids and the kids would be standing there. One time she told them I was her brother and wouldn't it be so cool to go to the park together. She usually left after being told to once or twice. But she kept coming back so Mom got security cameras. She asked Mom another day if she could take me away for the day for something special and Mom closed the door in her face. My mom talked to her lawyer and a cop she knows and they told her to document and only call the cops if we clearly ask her to leave and she won't. Which is what happened on Saturday. I was home on my own and she showed up with her kids looking for me to come over and spend the day with them. I told her no and asked her to leave and I did it again more forcefully before I did end up calling the cops. When the cops showed up she was arguing that she's my stepmom and she's married to my dad, not sure if that's true or not, and she has the right to show up at my home. Her kids were getting more upset the longer the whole thing dragged on so they had to arrest her. My dad got on my mom's case so hard about it and she had to come home early and make sure I was okay and stuff. One of those times you could hear his girlfriend/wife crying in the background about what I did to her and her kids. And she was that loud I could hear her. He won't stop calling her and she's recording stuff. If we needed it she checked it was okay first. But they're saying I'm an awful person to call the cops on a pregnant woman like that and I should have just talked to her. Stories number 16. My husband 32M left me 32F after almost 15 years together and wants me to forget and let him come home. What are my next steps to stop that? My husband and I have been married for almost 2 years, but together for almost 15. He is my only long real boyfriend I have had in my adult life, and we have 2 children together. We have had a rocky relationship from the beginning if I'm being honest, but the last 3 years have, for the most part, been pretty great. The turning point for our relationship, I feel, was after he got blackout drunk at his friend's wedding and spent the entire 1.5 drive home that I drove him and his friend home from as I was sober, screaming at me and saying nasty things. Since then things had been pretty good. I have been working on myself, have lost weight, putting more effort into myself and my appearance, and have been making new friends. About 5 months ago he woke up one day and told me he wasn't happy with his life or me and wanted to leave. He then decided he was wrong and didn't want to leave. Not to drag it on too much, but a highlight reel of the last 5 months is he has left me 4 to 5 times and comes back every time saying he's sorry. Been unhappy when I have gone for dinner or to see girlfriends. Got blackout drunk again, and behaved horrendously towards me. I can't really talk about it on the thread. The same night as above there was some severe drama with his family. I am also being made to be the villain for telling them this behavior is disgusting, especially since our 2 children were asleep in bed when everything was happening. Called me every name under the sun, often in front of our children. Accused me multiple times of having affairs, with absolutely no suspicions. I didn't realize a few of the things can't be discussed here. His excuses are that he doesn't feel loved enough by me and I'm not affectionate enough. But it's hard to feel affectionate to someone who is treating you like shit. I am getting very little family support and being made to feel guilty for breaking our family up if I don't let him just come back home. But he is never going to change. I guess I'm just looking for some validation and support that I'm making the right decision because I keep being told I'm wrong. What are my next steps to stay strong in my decision to not take him back, and try and establish a healthy co-parenting relationship for our children? Comments. Commenter 1. Say no. Keep saying no. Find an attorney, keep all conversations between the lawyers. File for immediate custody pending divorce. Separate finances. Do what the lawyer says. Action. First and best steps to staying strong. Commenter 2. Separate finances first thing, make it happen tomorrow. Reply. I actually don't even know how to begin separating our finances as everything we have is basically tied up in our business. Commenter 3. This is something you ask your attorney. Commenter 4. Lawyer now. Don't tell him what you're doing. Do not talk to any family member. Tell one, they'll all know. Follow your lawyer's advice. Update. I just wanted to firstly say thank you to everyone for all of your responses. I can't tell you how much they've helped me through this time, and every time I was struggling I went back and looked at them all. I just wanted to address a few things mentioned in the comments and then give an update, so skip to the end if you just want the update. I have spent the last few weeks really thinking about our relationship and the dynamics, and honestly it's difficult to really think about and embarrassing to think I've allowed this for so long. Some background to our relationship and dynamics of my life. We started seeing each other at 15, and on reflection I can see that he was pressuring me even back then to do what he wanted, e.g. pressuring me into losing my virginity when I didn't want to, but thankfully a friend intervened for me. I grew up in a house filled with domestic violence and an extended family that was very dysfunctional from trauma. Around the time we first met, my stepdad, who raised me and separated from my mom about 3 years prior, told me his new partner didn't like me calling me dad, and she was turning my bedroom at his house into her spare room for when her family came to visit, and essentially ended with him abandoning his dad role in my life. The night we started dating at 17 was, in hindsight, deeply troubling. We had been at a local function and had been friends. I was speaking with a mutual friend leading up to this night, and we snuck away to spend time together. When we came back to the function, our mutual friends were laughing about it, and he started screaming at me in front of everyone for hooking up with his friend when I knew he liked me and that I'm a bitch. I followed him out to apologize, no idea what I was apologizing for now, and ended up in a relationship with him. He habitually lied to me about using illicit substances throughout the years. He knew it was a hard limit for me as my relative had passed away from an OD. I know to some people it is a bit ridiculous as it's pretty normal where we are from, but I didn't want to be involved with it in the slightest. He caused friendship breakdowns because friends would come to me and tell me he was using substances, he would deny it and tell me they were lying, and I would end up in arguments with them. He admitted 2 years ago to lying about it because he could see my viewpoint had changed and I was more accepting of it. Our relationship was great for the last 2 to 3 years, 1 to 2 years before our wedding and 1 year after. But on reflection I realize it was because I was just being more obedient to him. I was basically a married single mom and handled everything at home, worked in our business and was the primary parent for our children. Okay, now for the update. I saw everyone's comments about leaving him and running in divorce. That is definitely my plan. But I'm trying to be smart about everything and not rush it and do it on impulse. After my last post I did cave to his pressure and allow him another chance. I told him that I was going to visit my friend's new apartment in the city and go for dinner together. He lost it and tried to forbid from going. I told him I wasn't asking for permission, I was just letting him know. He was yelling and carrying on in front of our children that I either be husband and wife again or he's leaving right now. And I was just overwhelmed and trying to get him to stop, so I agreed. He also admitted to going through my phone to look at my messages with my friend because he didn't trust what I was saying. But shock and horror, a week later he left again. So currently we are not together. He keeps apologizing and telling me he loves me and regrets the things he was saying to me. He keeps asking me, so are you done or do you want to be with me? I reminded him that you left and we're not currently together. I said without real changed behavior I am not willing to be together. And I know that he will not be able to do that because I now realize that I think he is a narcissist, or at least pretty close. In the meantime I have been recording many of our conversations and interactions. I am meeting with a lawyer and speaking with an individual counselor. And trying to get my house in a state for sale without it being obvious. I also forwarded many of our business financial documents to a separate email in case he restricts access to them. His work email is also on my computer as I handled most of his correspondence, and a few days ago he had an email from Snapchat about some password change or something. Not really a huge deal I guess, but I'm pretty confident there is either another specific girl in the picture or he's having casual sex. If there's anything else I should be doing, anything you want clarified, or any thoughts you have, I'd love to hear it. And thank you all again. Comments. Commenter 1. So currently we are not together. Lady, on my hands and knees begging you to stop with this language. It needs to be, we are not together, period. Reply, you're right, we are not together. Period. I promise it's not changing. Update. Hi all. I wanted to post an update for everyone who gave me advice in my previous posts and helped me through a really difficult time. My soon-to-be ex-husband has been gone from our home for 2 weeks now. It has been 2 weeks filled with crash-outs, love bombing, and everything in between. But I have held firm and told him I am completely out of the relationship and want a divorce. I have bought new security cameras for the time being, but want to sell our house and buy my own place as soon as possible. But separating our finances is going to be so difficult. I know I'm only at the very beginning of the journey, but I am feeling so proud of myself and strong in my resolution. And honestly, I haven't even missed him once yet. I feel free. The kids and I can be at home and do what we feel like without worrying if he will have a problem with it. There's no more yelling at home. It's just peaceful, so thank you again for your advice. I probably won't have another update, but thank you all, and if you have any tips or tricks for negotiating custody agreements and divorce, that would be great. I can't tell you how much you all helped me push through the hardest part. Comments. Commenter 1. Please do not cave into his excuses/love bombing. He will never change, no matter what he says/promises. I've read your other posts, he sounds like a POS. You and your kids will be so much better off without him and his constant screaming, anger and abuse. Focus on yourself and your kids now. You should be very proud of yourself for moving on. I know it's scary and hard, but it will be so worth it. Best of luck and a happy future for you and your children. Reply, I absolutely will not. It's crazy how much you really see when you take off the rose-colored glasses. Thank you, it is a bit scary and definitely hard, but God, has it been worth it. Commenter 2. Make a new bank account at a different bank in your name only and transfer your personal money and maybe half of the shared money there, freeze your credit for the time being. Reply, it's difficult because most of our assets aren't liquid and are in equipment, etc., but I have already opened a separate account for my wages. Thank you. Stories number 17. I think I don't want to marry my BF anymore. Not that he 28M wanted to marry me 28F anyway, he stated marriage is like a noose around a neck. I was absolutely in love with this man, we have such a beautiful child together. I wanted to marry him because I wanted to show my absolute commitment. I thought he reciprocated, but over time I just see that I was delusional. After our child was born I saw he following a lot of thirst trap girls on TikTok. I told him how much it hurt me, especially when my body doesn't look great anymore after pregnancy. My self-esteem was at a low point, mostly hormones, but seeing that didn't help. I asked him to unfollow them and don't engage with that content. Every time I built my confidence up and accepted my new body I would see him following more girls. I would remind him, he would unfollow, and I had to start building my confidence up again. For a while it seemed good, until he had to use my phone for work since his broke. I offered him my phone since he drives for work and I wanted him to have a way to communicate in an emergency. Months later I logged back into my private TikTok. The likes and follows. Hundreds of girls. He was logged into my private account on his phone, knowing I was checking in on his account from my end. I confronted him, told him with the lengths he went to try and hide this, him doing it over and over knowing it hurt me, I consider it cheating and I won't tolerate it again. He agreed, promised not to do it again, and we moved on. Things were looking up for a bit, I'm losing a lot of that baby weight, I had time to work on my appearance again. Things were feeling a bit more normal again. Reader, I'm sure at this point you're screaming at me, run it's gonna happen again, and you would be right. I found his Twitter in my recommended, he told me he didn't have Twitter when I asked. He was following and liking again, but now I saw him commenting. I had it, I told him, and he just said, I don't get it, I just see it as porn, and after a back and forth I told him I don't want to be with him anymore. The only reason why I'm staying is I will be damned if I don't get to see my son every day, and he doesn't get to see his father every day. Now we are back in the growth phase, but damn, it's been weighing on me every day. Moments where I feel happy and confident, I just remember these women and how I look nothing like them. Moments where I look at him lovingly, happy with our growth, it's tainted thinking, what new way is he hiding his addiction to these women? Him calling me pretty or beautiful feels like a lie. Moments where we are playing with our son wondering if it'll be that last time we do that. Seeing my BF on his phone, fixated to the point where he can't even hear me talking to him, wondering if his attention is on another woman. I'm grieving the me that didn't know any of this, I wish I was still oblivious. I wish I could just forget all of it, still blissfully in love with him and our little family. I wish I no longer agreed with him when he said marriage would be like a noose around my neck. TLDR, I'm a fucking idiot who still loves a man who hurt her numerous times but is still fighting to keep our young family together and clinging to hope that maybe I'll want it all with him again and he wouldn't want it all with me. Just a vent, but advice is always appreciated. Comments. Commenter, your insecurity is not his fault, although he still should not have lied to you. I feel like you two did not communicate it correctly, and just like him I would see it as soft porn, which shouldn't be a problem as long as he still genuinely appreciates you. Reply, and I agree, my self-esteem is on me. But seeing him, the man I gave my heart and soul to, ruined my body for, actively seek out and hide his interactions with these women hurts. To see comments makes me wonder if he's messaging these women or paying these women to see more. Would he fuck these women if given the chance? To continue doing so even after I explicitly told him I consider it cheating, is not hurt done unintentionally. I'm guilty of wanting to feel enough for him, for letting that affect the way I view my body. My self-esteem on me, but my lack of trust in him is on him and his actions. Same commenter, I overread the commenting part, my bad. But what if doesn't really help. He is addicted to porn, maybe he needs therapy to get away from it. Girls posting themselves as thirst traps mostly don't even reply, nor would they ever interact with men physically. Have you tried asking him if he does not feel fulfilled sexually? Reply, it's okay, and yeah, the what ifs and definitely hurting progress, but I can't help that my mind is wondering just how deep does this go. And while most don't comment back, the possibility is always there. We have discussed his needs at length, and while I'm working on my end to make sure he's satisfied, it's hard to maintain at times. Part of which is because I'm continuing to try to meet his needs when my trust in him has been obliterated. To a longer comment about porn addictions. Reply, thank you, seeing these comments about porn addiction changed my perspective. Context, he's an amazing dad. Started working super early mornings 3 a.m. to 1 p.m. so he can spend time with his kid. He's helping me learn Spanish so we can teach our son to be bilingual. He will help me out, no questions asked. This is his first real relationship, and we ended up having our kid before our first anniversary. Before anyone comments, he have been friends for 10 plus years. So he's navigating a relationship for the first time and parenthood at the same time. And since our last discussion on this, he has corrected behaviors I didn't even touch on. He started complimenting my body more, initiating more, giving me time to work on my self-care, nails, skin care, hair care, etc. so I can start feeling like myself again. He started watching porn where the women look more like me, deleted socials where there are thirst traps, etc., all of which I didn't explicitly ask for. When I say absolute commitment, I'm here through the thick and thin. I absolutely believe a relationship can recover from most anything if both are willing, and we are. We both see now that our relationship needs to be strong for our son, and we will both do what it takes to make it. Top comments. Commenter 1, you love the man you want him to be, not the man he is. You know what you should do. Commenter 2, exactly. You can't marry a fantasy. If you're unhappy and he violates your boundaries, why stay? The baby weight is not the problem here. Commenter 3, you could try couples therapy, but honestly I don't think he's worth it. And as the mother of a 19-year-old who has had a lot of revelations about her dad, your kid will not benefit from parents who live together but aren't happy together. He cheated on you, you told him not to do it regularly and he dismissed you each time. I don't think he will change. Update post. Everyone was right. It would just continue to happen constantly over and over. Until I reached a point where when I saw it again I just felt numb. I started giving love to myself, focusing on exercising, diet, creating art, spending time with my son. Eventually I decided I couldn't be with him anymore and I left. Get this, our son is almost 3 and when he was begging for me back he said, I'm sorry, it's just hitting my that we have a son, fucking what? Anyway. I have 100% custody and thriving. I wish I took y'all's advice way sooner. I was so naive in thinking he could change. Here's to loving life. Sum of comments. Commenter, yep. And the plus side is, your son won't have his cheating, irresponsible ass as a primary role model. Reply, this was the big realization at the end of it all. He has a poor male role model, but by me staying I'm a bad role model as well. That love is tolerating disrespect and accepting less than the bare minimum. I love him enough to put my fears of solo parenting aside. Commenter, congratulations on your independence. Your ex sounds like a real piece of work, and it is obvious that you and your kiddo are thriving without him. Also, he's just now realizing you have a child together. Did he think you had a dog together for the last 3 years? Reply, my jaw dropped when I heard him say this. He later tried to say it's just he's our son now getting a personality and it was hard for him to feel fatherly instincts blah blah blah, but really all parents can see the personality from very early on. His problem is he decided to not connect with his son until it seemed the relationship was going to end. Commenter, how'd you get full custody? Reply, he gave it willingly. Commenter, I remember your post. I'm so glad you have found a way to honor and value you. You deserve honest and compassionate love. I wish nothing but the best for you in this new chapter. Reply, you don't know how many times I went and read the comments of that post every time it happened again. Y'all really were there for me more than y'all can count. Stories number 18. Aita for telling my sister that her lack of personal hygiene is the real reason no job will hire her and not sexism. This concerns my sister, Lily, who is graduating soon. Our parents taught us the importance of personal hygiene and keeping yourself presentable. But I guess Lily fell off the wagon while dorming in college because it feels like she dropped everything to do with personal hygiene since moving back home. It's easier to explain with a list of things she isn't taking care of. Hair, very oily and always tangled from lack of wash and brushing. Skin, also very oily from no wash. Nails, never trimmed so they're long and yellow from grime. Clothes themselves are nice but she leaves them wrinkled. Body, showers once a week tops. I'm not sensitive to smell, but my sister reeks and honestly makes me gag sometimes. Lily is upset because she says she can't get an in-person job in her field and wants to give up. Our parents have tried telling her that hygiene is as important as credentials when getting jobs, but my sister won't listen. Lily has a rocky relationship with our family so she takes it as a personal attack rather than them trying to help. Lily is now blaming sexism and says men are all just intimidated by a competent woman and that's the sole reason why she hasn't gotten a job. If she wants to lie to herself, it's her life. Whatever. What I can't stand is her trying to make it my problem and expect validation from me. Lily just did a bunch interviews, but all went cold after and none panned out into jobs. She was venting to me last week about how companies in this field are all boys clubs and quick to shoot down a woman they know is intellectually above them. I was basically just like, good for you, can I please finish my session in peace now? Lily got defensive and said she's just warning me. Then doubled down saying most men are selfish and I should save myself the headache now. She was saying this with my male friends on the voice call. I had enough and told Lily that her lack of personal hygiene is the real reason no job will hire her, so stop blaming others and think for 2 seconds. If you were a company owner who needs to impress investors to keep your own family afloat, would you want to be represented by someone who looks and smells like a homeless person, or someone who is presentable and takes care of themselves? We got into an argument and Lily is now either giving me one-word answers or not saying anything to me at all. I'll be honest that we argue a lot but Lily normally would have gotten over it by now. Did I do the right thing giving Lola a dose of reality or did I fuck up here? Stories number 19. Aita for making sure my daughter has everything she needs. I have a child F14 with my ex. I was ordered to pay $1,000 a month in child support which is fine. I can afford it and I'll do anything for my child. But the problem is, isn't this money supposed to be used on my child? I don't feel like that's the case. I don't understand why my child wears hand-me-downs or eats cheap crappy food. So I've started sending extra stuff. Like on the days I know her mom can't give her a ride I'll get her taxi or I'll order food for her and send it to their house on the nights she tells me her mom is making nuggets or something like that. Well, her mom thinks I'm an ass and this is causing problems in her house. Now sure, why that's my problem. Update, Aita for making sure my daughter has everything she needs. TBH, I'm gonna start by saying that I'm very upset and frustrated from the comments. I feel like everyone was so busy with what is best for my ex that they didn't even care about what is best for my child. As I said, I have 50-50 custody and I gladly agreed to pay child support but only because I was told the money will go towards making sure my daughter has similar lifestyles in both houses and this is not what happened. I understand my ex's situation, I really do. She is disabled and aside from my child she has an older kid from a deadbeat and 2 younger ones with her husband and she wants to treat them all equally but frankly, I don't care about them. I don't understand her mindset of don't send things to your daughter because it makes the other kids jealous. If you want to send something, send it for all of the kids, those aren't my kids. I understand that $1,000 a month is not much money but if I'm paying for her insurance and medical bills and school and hobbies and allowance and all of her other expenses during the 50% of the time that she is with me, that means that her mom is only responsible for 50% of her basic needs, so how hard can it be to make sure those needs are met? I get told that she pays for electricity and toilet paper and water bills and etc. Well, so do I. And if it's such a problem then from now on I will give my daughter some toilet paper to take to her mom's house. I get told that I should also pay my ex for her effort. For helping my daughter with homework and preparing her meals. Why? Is that not her child too? And if I'm gonna pay for every fucking thing I might as well hire a nanny who does the job well. I don't understand the mindset of, so what if your child is eating fast food every other night? What if she has to walk for 30 minutes in an unsafe neighborhood? Those are all fine until my daughter gets sick or gets kidnapped or worse. If I can prevent it, why shouldn't I? Do I really need to wait for something to happen to her? Because if I send my daughter a taxi it will hurt her kids' feelings? Well, I'm sorry. I don't give a shit about her kids' feelings when it comes to my child's health and safety. I have made my decision. I'm taking her back to court and I'm getting full custody of my child now that my daughter gets a say. I didn't try for full custody before because I felt like it would be a selfish decision to not let her be raised by her mom at least half the time, but now I feel like it would be a selfish decision not to make sure my daughter is safe and healthy and happy. And if that makes me an asshole, I'm just gonna have to get used to it. Update, Aita for making sure my daughter has everything she needs. I talked to my lawyer who told me that the court might not go exactly as I want, that it's likely she will get weekends custody even though my daughter wants to stay with me. I figured it would be easier to convince my ex to make the best decision for our daughter and let her stay with me. I went to see her and we talked and I told her I'm even willing to keep paying her child support as long as she lets my daughter move in with me. I even offered to increase the amount of child support. It didn't go well. She was screaming at me for a while saying she is not gonna lose her child for money. Her husband told me to wait for him outside. We talked for a while and he said that he wants to do what is best for all of the kids and assured me he has the power to convince his wife to let my daughter stay with me. I genuinely don't think he gives a SHT about my child, but it doesn't matter as long as I get to have full custody. We agreed on $3,000 a month. Well, that was it. I hope my ex forgives me. I know she genuinely loves our daughter and doesn't want to give her up, but after talking to her husband I'm even more convinced that I need to have full custody since he just so easily agreed to let me take her for some extra money. Stories number 20. My boyfriend invited me to his dad's for dinner, and I ended up sitting there hungry while everyone else ate. Am I overreacting? I 21F have been with my boyfriend 22M for almost 2 years. For context, I've been pescatarian for about a year and 3 months. I only ate meat for the first few months of our relationship, so his family knows I don't eat meat. Yesterday was his grandma's birthday party. They had brisket and sides, so I just had fruit and veggies, totally fine since it was a big party and I'd had a smoothie beforehand. Later, his aunt texted that they were opening their pool on his dad's side of the family. His parents are divorced. We decided to stop by. The pool party was fun, but my clothes got soaked. Afterward, instead of going back to my house, where my grandparents were already planning to make tacos for both of us, we ended up changing plans and going to his dad's house because they were planning on eating there. At this point my clothes are still soaking wet, so I'm in his oversized shorts and shirt. I'm also on my period, stressed, and haven't had a real meal in hours. When we get to his dad's, they decide to make pizzas and burgers. My boyfriend is in charge of the pizzas, so I assumed he'd make a cheese one. Nope, it's a combination pizza. Burgers, hot dogs, combination pizza, literally nothing I can eat. Nobody asked me what I wanted, except earlier when someone offered me a burger. Obviously I said no. Which they later realized but didn't say anything. I started to get visibly upset, and my boyfriend asked what was wrong. I didn't want to make it a big deal, so we went outside to talk quick. Finally I asked him, "So were you just expecting me to sit here and watch everyone else eat in silence?" He kind of brushed it off, saying, "It's fine, I'll just eat and then we can leave and go to your house." But that annoyed me, because we had plans that would have involved both of us eating, and I would never do that to him at my house. Right before everyone ate, I went to the bathroom and teared up because I felt like crap, hungry, awkward, and uncomfortable. When I came back, everyone else had food, and I was just sitting there with nothing. To top it off, he handed me the tiniest side cup of waffle fries, like 6 fries, and when I said I didn't want them, he just ate them himself. It honestly just shocked me that no one in his family noticed or offered me anything. My grandparents would never let my boyfriend sit there without a meal, ever. So, Reddit, was I overreacting? Would you be upset if your partner put you in this situation? How would you handle it? Update. Hey guys, just wanted to give a little update and some more context. First off, a lot of people thought that my boyfriend was actively making a pizza, but what I meant was that it was just a frozen pizza, so there really wasn't much he could do about it in that moment. Where I feel he went wrong was not telling me right away that there wasn't really anything for me to eat. I kind of had to figure it out on my own. I wasn't standing near him when he put the pizza in the oven, so I didn't realize it was a combination pizza until the oven was almost done preheating. I do realize now that I should have brought something I could eat, but to be fair, I didn't even know we were going to his dad's house. I thought we'd be going to my grandparents' house where I live, so I wasn't prepared. Looking back, I think we were both a little in the wrong. It was just a sucky, awkward situation overall. I do think it was very inconsiderate, and we did have a long talk about it. But it's not something I can hold against him for the rest of his life. Also, a lot of people said I should have stuck up for myself. I'm honestly not a very outgoing person, and I really didn't know what to say in that moment. I know I need to work on that, but at the time I was just stuck in a super awkward situation and didn't know how to speak up. I don't blame his family at all, because it's not really their job to accommodate me. That said, as a host, I personally would never want to make someone feel like that. Lesson learned, I'll definitely be more prepared next time. Hopefully no one else ever has to be in that kind of uncomfortable situation because, yeah, it was not fun. On why he didn't make her a cheese pizza, they didn't have cheese. Stories number 21. Aita for exposing my best friend's lie that cost her the job and ruined her career. So, I 28F need some advice because I honestly feel like I might have gone too far, but I can't shake the feeling that I did what I had to do. Here's the backstory. I had been working my butt off for months applying, interviewing, and networking to land my dream job at a major tech company. It was the kind of opportunity one had been aiming for my entire career. The pay was great, the growth potential was huge, and honestly, it was everything I had worked for. Now, my best friend Jessie 29F and I have been close for 10 years. We've been through everything together, and she knew how badly I wanted this role. I helped her with her own job search in the past and even gave her tips and advice when she was looking for new opportunities. So, when I found out that she had applied for the same job, I wasn't worried. I thought, okay, may the best person win. But then, things started getting weird. We both got through the interview process, and after some really tough rounds, I got an offer. I was beyond excited. It felt like all my hard work was finally paying off. But Jessie's reaction was off. Instead of being excited for me, she seemed distant and almost bitter. She kept making offhand comments like, "I'm sure you'll be amazing at the job," but with a tone that felt cold, not supportive. A couple of days later, I got an email from HR saying that they had decided to move forward with another candidate, but they'd keep me in mind for future openings. I was confused, but they assured me it was just a formality, like they were still considering me in case things changed. No big deal, right? Well, then I found out through a mutual friend that Jessie had actually gotten the job. I felt completely blindsided. I mean, I knew we were both interviewing, but to hear she got it after everything I'd done to land it, it stung. I confronted her, and she tried to play it off like it was nothing. "Yeah, I got it, but I think I'm more qualified than you for this role, don't you think?" she said, which already had me feeling some kind of way. But when I pressed her, it became clear that something was really off. I found out that during her final interview, Jessie had lied about me. She told the hiring manager things that were not only false but deliberately intended to destroy my chances at the job. She said I had serious issues with authority, was known to undermine my colleagues, and that I had a toxic attitude and wasn't a team player. She also claimed I was constantly unhappy at my job and that I was planning on leaving soon anyway. None of this was true. Not even a little bit. Jessie knew I loved my current job, and I had always been a team player. She had to have made it all up just to make herself look better. When I confronted her about it, she didn't apologize. She said, "I did what I had to do. It's business. It's not personal." And that was it. I was furious. Not just because of the lies, but because of the sheer audacity of it. She used our friendship as a stepping stone, stabbed me in the back, and then tried to justify it as if it were no big deal. I knew I couldn't just let her get away with it, so I decided to reach out to the company. I didn't go into all the personal details about our friendship, but I did tell HR that there had been some misinformation shared during Jessie's interview about me. I provided evidence that disproved the claims she made, emails, performance reviews, and even testimony from colleagues who could vouch for me. It felt dirty, honestly. I didn't want to get her fired or ruin her life. But I also knew that what she had done was wrong on a professional and personal level. The company needed to know the truth. I figured they'd just take note of the feedback and that would be the end of it. But then came the unexpected fallout. A few days later, I get an email from HR. They thanked me for the information, but here's the bombshell: they told me they had reversed their hiring decision because of the false statements Jessie had made about me. They said they had done an internal review of her interview and found that her claims were unsubstantiated and damaging to their hiring process. And that's when I found out that not only had they rescinded the job offer, but they had also decided to terminate her. It turned out that the company had a zero-tolerance policy for dishonesty in interviews and had flagged her as a liability. They said that in light of the evidence I provided, they could no longer justify hiring her. I was honestly shocked. I didn't expect things to escalate to that point. But it didn't stop there. Jessie called me immediately after she found out. She was furious. She called me everything from a jealous, vindictive person to a backstabbing, petty liar. She screamed at me over the phone and told me I had ruined her career and that I would never be forgiven. But the worst part? She went around telling everyone that I had her fired and that I was just salty about losing the job. She told our friends that I was a sore loser and couldn't handle the competition, trying to paint me as the villain. And while I can't deny I felt a little bit of satisfaction when I heard she'd been let go, the guilt started creeping in. Was I wrong for going to HR? Did I go too far? I didn't want her to lose her job, but I felt like I had to do something after she intentionally sabotaged me. Now I'm wondering, Aita for exposing her lies. I feel like I did what I had to do, but part of me wonders if I could have handled it differently. Stories number 22. Wipta for going ahead with a wedding that my mom is violently opposed to. I 25F have been engaged to my fiancé 27M for just over 2 years, and we dated for nearly 3 years before he proposed. We set a wedding date back when we got engaged, but postponed it because my family was going through a rough patch and it didn't feel right at the time. We are now aiming for April 2025, venue is booked and everything. However, my mom despises my fiancé. She says that he has warning signs of an emotional abuser, he is selfish and wants to keep me to himself, and that he is going to turn me into a helpless housewife to just pop out babies for his southern, racist family. For clarification, I am a kindergarten teacher, currently pursuing my master's degree, and have exactly 0 plans to have kids in the next 5 years, which he agrees with. He is an electrical engineer, also pursuing a master's degree, and does not agree with his family's conservative beliefs. She lives across the country and recently came to visit for a month. It ended badly. I mean screaming fights, storming out of the house, and crying until 2 a.m., all of which culminated in me driving her to the airport 2 weeks early. She swears she will never step foot back in the state for any reason, and she refuses to be in a room with my fiancé or his family ever. Well, while she was here, I didn't get a chance to tell her that we are planning to go through with the wedding, things are booked, etc. I fully intended to, but with all the fighting and turmoil, I didn't have a chance. Now, my fiancé and his family are asking questions about where we're at in the wedding planning process, and I'm really torn about how to answer. On the one hand, we could reschedule the entire thing and I could work with my mom to get her to agree to come. On the other hand, we could go through with the wedding, but I would have exactly 0 family members present. I desperately want my mom to be there, but I don't know if she'll ever come to terms with my fiancé's existence and importance in my life. And I'm not sure I want to keep postponing the wedding because she's not ready for me to get married yet. So, would I be the asshole if I do go through with it? Extra, my mom does have a TBI, which affects her emotional regulation. She has had the TBI since before I started dating my fiancé, so he never met her beforehand. Despite the brain injury, she swears that she is being perfectly reasonable and that as an older woman who has dated a lot more than I have, just the one, and has known abusive men, that I should trust her implicitly and leave him. Info. Everyone has been asking, so here are some of the warning signs that she says are emotionally abusive. He wouldn't leave me alone with her while she was here visiting. She is referring to the fact that while we would talk in the evenings, he was always in the room. Because we talked in the living room of the small house where we live. Never mind that he literally stayed out of the house for 2 days, so we could hang out together, just my mom and I. He does not encourage a strong bond between my mom and I. She means that he has not pushed me to go visit my mom and brother across the country, even when they needed help. My reasoning is that I don't actually want to go across the country very often, so even when he asks me if I want to, the answer is usually no. He is gay and using me as a beard. She is referring to the fact that years ago, before we even started dating, I made an offhand comment about how people thought that the new server might be gay. We worked in a restaurant with lots of liberal college kids, and straight people were the minority, so we kind of assumed everyone was LGBTQ+ unless told otherwise. I was obviously wrong, as we have been together for 5 years with no issues in the bedroom and many conversations about the facets of sexuality. He encourages me to lie to her. I lied about going on a trip to Puerto Rico, entirely by my own choice, and despite multiple warnings by him and my beat friend that it would end poorly. It did end poorly, and she does not trust me anymore, which is a separate issue. But again, my choice to lie. He actively told me it was a bad idea, and I didn't listen. Sum of comments. Commenter, NTA. Have your wedding. It's your mother's choice whether to come or not. If you decide to invite her, don't do it if you think she'll cause a scene. And you have no other family members at all to invite? What about friends? As long as there will be people there to support you, have your wedding and enjoy it. If you can encourage your mother to see a neurologist, do so, and try to speak to them before the appointment to tell them how she has been behaving. Reply, my family broke apart almost 10 years ago when my grandma died, and all I have left are my mom and younger brother. My side of the aisle would just be my best friend, a few close friends, and some friends from work. Unfortunately, she lives in a city with subpar medical care, especially when she has state disability insurance which covers virtually nothing. To another question about her family. My biological father was abusive, and when he lost parental rights, I lost my paternal family because they were all on his side. My maternal family exploded almost 10 years ago, when my grandma died. My aunts and uncle turned on my mom, my cousins sided with their parents, and my mom wrote them all off for good. It's just been my mom, my brother, and I for most of our lives, but there is literally no one else who shares a blood relation with us that we still talk to. OOP explains. I usually would agree with you about people not saying someone is abusive, just because. However, my mom has been abused by many men over the years, one of whom was my biological father. It's one of those situations where I can't tell if she's saying it because she's seen it firsthand and recognizes the signs, or if she's saying it because she's seen it so many times and now sees it everywhere. Commenter, info, what was the fight about? Was it between your mom and your fiancé, or your mom and your fiancé's family? If the latter, I'd be interested to hear what stance your fiancé took on the situation. If they were being bigoted, and your fiancé didn't stand up for his beliefs and instead let her take the brunt of it, that is certainly a red flag. Reply, it was a fight between my mom and my fiancé, because she asked him what he would do if his mom had been beaten, or ped, and made homeless, which is what happened to her a few years ago. Post TBI, she is no longer homeless, obviously. He responded that his mom had asked to be put in a home if she couldn't take care of herself. He meant it innocently enough, but she has a deep-rooted fear of mental health facilities and homes for disabled people, so it sparked terror in her. She was furious with me for not defending her against my fiancé because he was abusing her and triggering PTSD of when her father used to physically abuse her and her mom didn't defend her. Commenter, what do others in your life say about your fiancé? Reply, literally, no one else has any concerns about him. My best friend actually lived with us for 3 years while we were dating and then engaged, and she only ever has good things to say about him. I've known her since middle school, I know her family well, and I fully trust her to tell me if I'm being an idiot or need to dump his ass. Plus, her parents are very rational and haven't raised any red flags, even going so far as to invite me and my fiancé to their beach house for a week and a half. None of my coworkers who have all met him repeatedly have any concerns. It's just my mom and brother, who have actually only been in his presence for less than 2 months total. Commenter downvoted, sorry but OP doesn't come off sounding like a good person. Op. If you want to cut off your family, spare them the suspense and just do it. Reply, I completely get where you're coming from, and I agree that it does make me look bad. The instances I was referring to were times that my mom called me in the middle of the night because of a crisis, expected me to drop everything, and be at her side to solve the problem. Emotionally, I understand where she was coming from because she needed help and wasn't able to do it herself. Logically, however, it simply isn't always possible. I am a teacher of small children, with the pay of a small child, and I can't simply fly across the country every time something goes wrong. It is a logistical nightmare for teachers to get time off for even regular things, like doctor's appointments, so I can't just up and leave for unknown lengths of time. I am always supportive over the phone, and I coordinate with my brother to make sure she gets help. I do my best from where I am, and I'm not saying I've made all the right choices, but I do resist the idea that I am at my mom's beck and call for every crisis, just because she decided to move across the country to a place with no support system. OOP's post was voted as not enough info, but further comments were NTA. Side post. A little background, we have had Life 360 on our phones for years, since my mom was a single mom and my brother and I got home from school before she did. It's never been a problem, because she checks it for peace of mind, knowing where her kids are. Now, she lives across the country with my brother, and I am in a different state. She has a brain injury and still looks at my location a lot, since I'm not great at answering texts all the time. My mom is in her 50s, I am 25, my brother is 23. Last Christmas, I turned off my Life 360 because I was going on a trip to Puerto Rico that I knew she wouldn't approve of. I lied about it when my brother asked why it was turned off. My mom caught me in the lie, and it blew up our relationship pretty badly because she felt like she couldn't trust me. I am well aware that I was the asshole in that part of the situation. I shouldn't have turned it off, and I definitely shouldn't have lied. However, nearly a year has passed, our relationship is still very rocky, and recently we are on the outs about my upcoming marriage. She doesn't approve and doesn't want it to happen, but I'm still doing it. She has started using my location against me, calling and starting fights whenever I spend time with my soon-to-be in-laws, asking why I'm leaving the house in the evenings, or what my plans are on the weekend that require me to drive an hour away from home. About 2 weeks ago, she and my brother turned off their locations and told me they were going to walk into the desert and unaliving themselves. I panicked, called the cops, and it turns out it was all a cry for help. They were sitting at home, totally fine. Well, I turned off my location out of anger and frustration. The thinking was, if they were going to turn theirs off to lie to me, then they didn't need to know my every move anymore. My brother texted me a couple days ago, asking me to please turn my location back on so they can know when I'm home. I am reluctant, because I am still angry and hurt by their words and actions, and it has honestly been pretty freeing to know that my mom can't sabotage my days out by calling and starting fights when I leave the house. I know that she does look at my location for peace of mind. Remember, brain injury, very emotional, very anxious. I also feel that at 25, in a different state, I should have a certain level of privacy from my mom. She does not need to know my every move. But I did turn it off once before, and that ended up causing a huge pile of mistrust and lies, and I don't want to do that again either. So would I be the asshole if I keep it turned off? Or should I do what they want and turn it back on? Update post. We got married. A lot of y'all told me to go through with it, and after a lot of thought, we did. When my mom left in October, we were in a bad place, and we were having a lot of really awful phone calls and screaming fights. I was desperate to do something, and I finally found a therapist who helped me process some of the things that happened between my mom and I and my role in things. In the months leading up to the wedding, my mom continued to scream at me over the phone and make threats about choosing him or her, and how she hoped I wasn't the kind of girl who got rid of her family to please a man who would end up leaving her anyway. She was downright hateful, and I spent a lot of time crying over our relationship, because I couldn't believe we had gotten to this point. Even with knowing that some of her dysregulation was because of the brain injury, I just couldn't believe my own mom would threaten me, call me a cunt, and tell me that I wasn't allowed to be upset with her because she had been traumatized her whole life. We got married in April, and my mom and brother did not attend. I was able to reconnect with my mom's cousin, who I used to be close with as a child, and she and her family came to the wedding. I had my best friend, her family, and my work family there to support me. A close friend performed the ceremony. Plus, of course, my husband's family was very supportive. There were times I missed my mom, and I wanted to see her smile in the audience, but I was ultimately glad that she wasn't there. I would have felt like I had to perform and cater to her every whim, and I am so glad I was able to just have a lovely day with all the people who came to celebrate with us. Just to reaffirm my feelings about her not being there, my mom did not contact me at all on the day of and only called me a week later to ask whether I would be sharing any pictures with her. I did send her a few, because I thought a small part of her might care, but all she did was comment on how it looked like a cheap Amazon wedding. She hoped I was happy with my shitty choices and that they were worth the loss of my family. I miss her constantly, despite all our issues, but I haven't cut her off completely. We've been having a hard time communicating at all right now, and I don't know if it will ever get better. But I am happily married and I don't regret it. Thanks for reading this far, and I appreciate all the kindness and honesty I got from my original post. Sum of comments. To a longer comment. This is amazing to hear, thank you. We strongly suspect that my mother has borderline personality disorder in addition to the TBI, based on some things she did and the way she acted prior to the accident. It hurts so badly to have no mom and no brother when I was so close to them my whole life. I'm glad your wife has built a beautiful life, and I am hoping that I can do the same. To a deleted comment. I'm sorry you see this on the horizon for you, I wouldn't wish this stress on anyone. I can tell you that one of the best lessons I've learned is that I have a right to privacy, a right to set boundaries, and a right to maintain them. In my context, that means that my mom doesn't need to have my location at all times. I am allowed to tell her that I only have 30 minutes for example to talk, and I am allowed to hang up the phone when that time limit is reached. I will always love my mom, but I don't have to let her control me. It's taken me a long time, close to 6 years, to figure these things out, with the help of friends, a supportive partner, and more recently, a licensed therapist. Send me a DM if you're ever in a low spot, because it is so hard to battle it alone when no one else in your life has been through something similar. I will make it. You will make it. It will be better on the other side. Sending you good thoughts. Commenter, what's the deal with your brother, OP? He didn't have a TBI also, did he? Why is he thinking your marriage is doomed? NTA. Reply, my brother moved to Arizona with my mom to be her support a few years ago, and ever since, he has been slowly brainwashed by her. She spends most of their waking time together ranting about how I must hate them and how awful I am, and unfortunately, he believes her. I love my brother, but he has always been a mama's boy, and it makes it easier for her to influence him. He was only 19 when he moved out west with her and has never truly lived on his own, out from under her thumb, so he has no idea how warped some of her thinking is. Although my relationship with my mom is fraught with anger and mistrust, I still hold a small kernel of hope that one day, my brother and I will be able to reconnect. I hope that he will heal from her influence, and will be able to forgive each other for the way things have happened. I don't know if it will actually work like that, but I miss him too much not to hope for it. Commenter, why did he have to uproot his whole life to take care of mom and not have a real life, but you get to live normally dating and going on vacations? Did the brother take the decision to move or was it forced on him? Reply, it was a combination of things. At the time, she had just moved out of the house she was staying at in Arizona and was briefly homeless. I was in my senior year of college doing my student teaching, and my brother had just earned his GED and was working at a local restaurant. My brother already wasn't happy living with his girlfriend, so when we realized that mom needed more help, he had more flexibility to go. He wasn't planning to go to college at that time, he could transfer his kitchen job to a location out west, and he had always been her hiking child who liked looking at rocks and wandering the desert with her. I was 4 months away from graduating, in the process of completing all my student teaching requirements and getting ready to submit them all for graduation consideration. Technically, I tried to get my mom to move back to our home state, since that's where both her kids were and where the superior TBI medical care was. We live near a highly ranked hospital system. It made the most sense to bring her back here, and she adamantly refused. Sending him out there to help her was supposed to be temporary, but she got her hooks in him again, and he started to believe that he didn't deserve a life outside of caring for her. He started to believe that he owed her everything because she raised him. It was awful to watch, but literally within 2 weeks of moving out there, he stopped talking about how to bring her home and instead switched to complaining about how I wasn't helping more from across the country. Commenter, what have you done to help support your brother? Does he get respite care? Vacations? Your life was built on his sacrifice. Every one of your boundaries are his problem. He deals with the fallout of your peace. I'm not against protecting yourself from your mom, but if you're doing it on his sacrifice without helping him, not your mom but him, your and his problems might be about the two of you's issues, and not about you and your mom. Reply, unfortunately, my brother doesn't know what a boundary is any more than my mother does. I have tried offering him time off or additional support from care people, and he has called me hateful for it. He believes that he owes my mother everything and that he isn't allowed to want or have things for himself anymore. It wasn't always like this, but she got her hooks in him pretty quickly after he moved out west with her. We definitely have our own issues to work through, but I am willing to do so as long as he is dealing with his own feelings and not just parroting hers. I've answered some other questions about him in other comments, but the fact is, I haven't been a great big sister and I would love to repair our relationship a little. We've made small steps in the right directions over the years, and then we backtrack again. I just don't know how to really fix anything between us when she undoes any progress that we make as soon as he's off the phone or along in a room with her. Commenter, YTA. To your brother, you feel exhausted after talking with your mother once a week. Your brother has to live with her. Why didn't you move closer to get so that you can help with care? Do you think it is okay leaving your brother trapped with her there with no way to escape? From what I understand, she can't take care of herself and does not have other relatives to rely on. So he is left with a choice of either staying trapped there or leave her on the street. He was robbed of his youth already. And he has no light at the end of the tunnel. If you don't do something to support him, he will resent you for the rest of his life. And by support I mean physical presence, not just sending some money or calling once a week. Reply, I completely agree with you, I have not been a good older sister. I mentioned in another comment that I never wanted him to move out there with her because I knew there was no support system there. But he is just as hateful as her at this point. I know a lot of it is rooted in anger and frustration and not true hate, but it still comes across as venomous. He hates me for learning how to set boundaries that he hasn't yet, and I've tried talking to him about how to maintain healthy space as much as possible with her, but she has him believing that he owes her his very existence. He has made special calls to me to say that mom is very angry with me, and when she calls, I just need to sit there quietly and take it and not react to her vitriol because that's what he has to suffer through all the time. And I hear him say that, and all I can think is, you have the same rights I do to not be called a cunt and an abuser repeatedly. But he doesn't believe me. He believes what she tells him, which is that she sacrificed for many years to raise us as a single parent and we owe her an equal level of sacrifice. And I love him, but I am done sacrificing. I am nearly 25k in debt because of them, and I have no idea how long it is going to take me to crawl out of that financial hole on a teacher's salary, especially when I am also paying almost $800 per month in their bills. I can't afford to move out west and cut my salary even smaller, and that's if I could afford the plane ticket or the moving truck in the first place. I may be going low contact with my mother, but I will never stop trying to talk to my brother, even if he doesn't respond or acknowledge me for years. I don't hate either of them, because I know that for all the suffering and stress I've endured, they have endured the same or more. We are just a collection of shattered people, and I want to do my best not to break us anymore. Stories number 23. Aita for attending the funeral of my mother. I 24F was given up by my parents as a baby, because they were both 18 and had no way to properly care for me. I didn't have a very good life until I got into college off of a sports scholarship, and it was then that I decided to investigate my past. I found out that my parents were still together, that they had 2 other kids a lot younger than me and had overall become very successful in life. I started to feel very resentful, and although I almost reached out, I decided that I couldn't. I still kept tabs on them to see how they were doing, how my siblings are and stuff. When I found out that my mother died, I did attend the funeral a few weeks ago. It was a big funeral, a lot of people attended, but it wasn't packed cause. The thing is, other than my hair being jet black, I looked just like my mother did. So, when people were leaving, I got spotted by my mother's hysterical great-aunt who assumed I was my mother. I excused myself, but I'm pretty sure I exposed who I was cause just a few days ago. My father managed to find me and reached out to me. When we met at a coffee shop 3 days ago, he apologized for having given me up, not reaching out sooner, and ended up crying over not getting to raise me. It's the first time I saw a grown man cry. He asked me if I needed anything from a car to a place to stay, but I couldn't help but feel like I was embarrassing him. So I said goodbye and left, but I've received a lot of texts and voicemails from him since then asking why I left early, if I'll meet him again, but don't feel like I can talk to him. Then I got a phone call from a woman saying she was his cousin and my aunt and that I should have stayed away because he's inconsolable now and I'm an asshole for choosing a funeral to reveal myself. I feel like my aunt is right because I've done is brought him new grief after he just lost his wife. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA. You didn't ask your aunt to out you. She is the TA by telling your father. The cat is out of the bag now, so I do think you need to communicate and not shut him out. You did kinda bring this on yourself. It's an unintended consequence. By going to his funeral, which was an honorable and right thing to do, you did create a situation where this could occur. I do think you need to see this through. I'd suggest you try and ignore everyone else and just talk to him and tell him you didn't mean to reveal yourself at the funeral, you just came to quietly pay your respects and now things have escalated. Reply. NTA. You didn't ask your aunt to out you. She is the TA by telling your father. I mean, she just lost her niece and was crying more than anybody that I'd ever seen. I don't blame her for exposing me. She lost more than I ever knew. The cat is out of the bag now, so I do think you need to communicate and not shut him out. You did kinda bring this on yourself. It's an unintended consequence. By going to his funeral, which was an honorable and right thing to do, you did create a situation where this could occur. I do think you need to see this through. I'd suggest you try and ignore everyone else and just talk to him and tell him you didn't mean to reveal yourself at the funeral, you just came to quietly pay your respects and now things have escalated. It's just that I carried years of sadness at being abandoned. The only thing they gave me was a name. When I found out how successful they were, it made me feel even worse. I went to the funeral because I didn't want to have never been in a room with my mother, but I'd never planned on connecting with anybody. It's why I feel I'm in the wrong here. By going, I took this situation that wasn't about me and made it about me, and I feel like if I back away I'd be making it even worse. Commenter 2. Those feelings of resentment are absolutely normal. But just remember, if they had kept you, their lives would have been different than the successful and happy ones they seem to have. I think you're NTA, but it seems like you need to talk to someone to work out your feelings about all this heavy stuff you're carrying. Reply. I know, it would have been a lot different if they kept me, and they probably wouldn't have been happy. But what hurts me is that they never came back for me after they became successful or tried to find out what happened to me. My father admitted as much to me when we talked. I wish I'd stayed forgotten. Commenter 3. I'm so sorry, OP. I'm reading between the lines a little here, and assuming maybe you spent your whole life in the system. I can definitely see why you're dealing with a lot of big feelings here. You mentioned in your post that your life wasn't a very good one, but if your circumstances are what I'm thinking, a lot of people aren't going to be able to fathom that. Reply. Up until I was 18 I was in the system and then I was aged out. I'd rather not go into why the orphanage was so horrible, but it sounds like you understand. I got a few scholarships and bursaries, but it was an athletics one that was good enough to actually make sure I could go to college. Commenter 4. NTA. You had a right to be at that funeral. You didn't make a scene. You didn't involve yourself in the funeral process. Someone saw you. It's their reaction to your being there that people are complaining about. You have absolutely no control over how people are going to react in any given situation. Definitely not the asshole. As for building a relationship with your father, I do believe he is reaching out to you in his grief since you do look so much like your mother. I'm sure he's feeling guilty, too, for having put you up for adoption. It's up to you whether or not you'd like a relationship with him. But from what I'm getting in your writing is that he's well off now and he'd buy you the moon if you'd give him a second chance. If you're up to owning the moon, you might want to give him a chance. But that's up to you. Reply. I don't want his money or anything, and I especially don't want people to think I only came into his life for his cash. I'd never planned on my revealing myself to him, and now I've taken this situation that was supposed to be about grieving for somebody else into me. I never should have done that. Commenter 5. NTA. Just read the title. ITS Your mother. How would you be the asshole if you showed up to her funeral? Reply. Because I'd never planned on meeting her in life or even my dad. In fact, I deliberately decided not to. And I should have realized I may be recognized, but by going, I've made a situation that was about grieving about somebody I didn't know into me, and I've given my dad more grief than I should have. Commenter 6. That doesn't matter, you went to pay respect. No. The last chance to even see her in person. If it was open casket, you never made it about yourself or announced to everyone. Reply. Yes, I went to pay my respects because I never wanted it to be like I'd never been in the same room as my mother outside of the hospital. And no, I didn't say hello to anybody and seated myself near the back after laying a flower on her body. Nobody noticed me until my mother's great-aunt got confused in her hysterical state. Update, AITA for attending the funeral of my mother. So I'm posting this cause I said I would in a month. Things happened and it's gotten better. The first thing was my aunt dad's cousin phoned me like the day after and apologized to me. She told me she practically raised my dad, and seeing him like he was made her act without thinking. She told me my dad wanted to see me again and would appreciate it if I would meet her too. I told her how hurtful what she said was and I needed time before seeing her, but did agree to meet him. Fast forward a week, I go to meet my dad. I kept rereading everyone's advice and using it to prepare what to say. He was more composed. I told him it hurt me so much to be abandoned, and it hurt seeing how successful he was, and it made feel not wanted, and meeting him made me want to be forgotten. He told me he never forgot about me and showed me a small baby photo of me he keeps in his wallet and told me he still sees me as his baby even though I'm grown. He told me he and my mom used to cry for me every day after giving me up, but they still prayed for me every day even until the end. He once again told me whatever I wanted, he could give me if I'd let him. I told him I wanted no money or anything from him and I didn't intend to reveal myself. He told me it was okay if I wanted nothing to do with him, but asked I be a part of my mom's great-aunt's life as she hadn't stopped asking about me since exposing me, and gave me her address. He insisted I was always wanted, but he always thought I'd been adopted and didn't want to ruin my life. And that's something a lot of you said, so I was prepared for it. He asked me to forgive him for not being there for me and said he'd do whatever to be my dad. I guess I realized I could push him away or finally have what I wanted. I told him my teenage fantasy that he'd come save me from the orphanage, and we both started crying. He told me we can save each other, and I hugged him and forgave him. Since then I started seeing him more, visit my great-great-aunt every other day. She started calling me by baby nicknames she had for my mom. My dad also started coming to the gym that me, my fiancé and my best friend started after grad. He has been trying to do all the dad stuff I missed out on that we can still do, like teaching me how to drive, business advice and stuff. I also finally don't feel so upset over my siblings getting a better life than me. He also got us both into counseling, and I've finally been able to talk about all my years in the system before I aged out. He is hosting a New Year's party and asked me to come so I can meet all my relatives, cousins and siblings, and yes, I am going. So I want to thank everybody that prepared me for how he felt in giving me up and how he felt in getting to see me again. I think that if you all hadn't pointed that out to me, I probably would have just tried to stay hidden and I wouldn't have finally gotten a dad. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. This is really beautiful. Your dad sounds like someone that is good to have in your life and I'm sure he's thrilled to finally have a relationship with you. Reply. I guess I really did misjudge a lot of things when I first met him. He really is the dad that I wanted when I was a teenager. Commenter 3. This is amazing. I'm so glad you are taking this step, but I know it's going to be weird creating relationships with people that you are genetically related to but meeting as an adult. I'm going through something slightly less dramatic, but on a similar theme, and meeting close genetic relatives that you never knew existed as an adult is a very bizarre experience. Don't expect too much, and believe in yourself. Reply. Thanks. I'm sure things with cousins, aunts, and uncles will be fine since people can go decades without seeing them while knowing them. It's meeting my siblings that I'm worried about, but my dad says they're excited to see me since they've always wondered who I was based on the baby photos they have of me and he house. I hope that it goes well for you too. Commenter 4. I remember you. I was really hoping it would end up this way. It sounds like the best possible outcome. I wish you both peace while finding your footing. I hope this is the start of the beautiful family relationship you missed out on. Quality, not quantity, that's what truly matters. Reply. Thanks. I wasn't going to put out an update but then I suddenly remembered I said I would and yesterday I wrote it so people who remembered my post might get closure cause I know people can cling on to sad stories sometimes. Commenter 5. Have you ever thought about fostering children at some point in the future? Since you know what it's like in the system you might be able to understand them better and help them. Reply. I have in fact thought about it. After I get married though, my fiancé and I aren't stable enough for that yet even though business is picking up. Commenter 6. What a fantastic outcome. It's sometimes easier to hang on to the hurt since that's been your default position all along and this takes real guts to move forward on. That he carried a photo of you always is such a sweet thing and really shows you were not just easily disposed of. I hope you and your family just go from strength to strength. And if he's financially comfortable maybe accept a little something from him, not as a material grab, but he missed out on all those birthdays and Christmases too so it would probably make him feel great. Even a simple necklace or something you could always wear. When he sees you with it on, it will warm his heart too. What wonderful timing for a real family Christmas for you all. Reply. I won't rebuff a Christmas gift, but I don't want him or anybody thinking I'm only in it for the cash. Maybe in time I'll be more comfortable taking things but the way I see it getting free advice on running my business from a guy as successful as him is better than anything money could buy. Plus it feels good to see how proud he is of me being a business owner. I finally got to meet my entire family. 60 days later. So I guess this is kinda an update to my Aita post, not sure if I can mention that sub here but a bit over 2 weeks ago at the end of the year, I finally got to meet all of my family. And it was the best time ever. On the 31st, my dad went to my apartment, chatted in Spanish for like half an hour with my fiancé, nobody speaks it in our country, and then I left with him for his house. My fiancé said he'd come later. When we got to my dad's house I was like, oh my god. I'd seen photos before but damn it's like a mini mansion, especially next to my apartment. It made me smile so much when I told Dad you have a beautiful home and he told me, it's your home too. When we got in, my dad led me to the living room where my siblings were waiting with my dad's uncle, so my great and one of my cousins. Honestly, I was really scared, but then my cousin and uncle came and gave me a huge hug and said they've waited for this for so long. It was a bit more awkward with my siblings cause they're both little, like not even 10 yet. But when they started asking questions it got a bit overwhelming, so my dad made them stop, but I liked it cause it means they want to get to know me. It did make a bit sad when my little sister said that I look so much like mommy used to. I can't believe I didn't notice it until then, but there was this giant photo of my parents and a baby over the fireplace. Like my dad looked super young in that photo, younger than me even, so I had to ask, is that me? When my dad said yes, I started crying. My great uncle took my siblings away and my dad and my cousin consoled me. Honestly it may seem selfish but that felt really good. Rest of the day went great too, especially when my fiancé came as well. Right at dinner time, my dad did a large toast to all the relatives and introduced me and my fiancé. Honestly, I don't know if I can write most of what he said, but it just made me feel so loved and so happy I let him into my life. I went back to my apartment with my fiancé really early in the morning, but since then I've never felt better. Honestly, only reason I remembered to post this is cause today my dad sent me a text asking if my fiancé and I want to go on a trip with him to Spain in February. I don't know if we will be able to yet, but we'll see. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'm so glad you got to meet more of your family, this update gladdens my heart. I also wanted to offer, I know I don't share your experience growing up, but I did grow up poor, and as I got older, I realized that I had deep-seated issues around money, and I would stop people from doing things for me because I didn't want them to think I was a user, or I felt like I always had to pay them back. I've been working on myself and I'm unlearning a lot. I hope you're still not worried about that, and if so, no one thinks you're a user, no one. Please know that it's okay to receive things from loved ones freely and without guilt or fear. Let yourself enjoy it. Blessings of others. Reply, thanks. It might take a while, but gifts on birthdays, Christmas, anniversaries, and my wedding I won't say no to. As for the rest, I guess it's like with you, I don't want people to think I only want this for the money. Commenter 2, you should totally go on the trip with him. Every chance you get, make new memories. Reply, I want to go to Spain. I've never been. But I also run a business, so that makes it hard. Commenter 3, the picture over the fireplace made me tear up. Reply, honestly, these last few months have been the most emotional I've ever been. It's not like I don't have emotions, but even my fiancé thought I had ASD when we first met. The way I've lived has made me averse to sharing my emotions, although not when I type. The baby photo my dad showed me before was just of me. But that was of me and my parents, and I looked so happy for a baby. It just made me so emotional I couldn't keep it in. Reply, now that I know them, I don't think any of them would really even care if I asked money from my dad, but I don't know. I just don't feel like I can take it. I'll take gifts and stuff on celebrations, but it just makes my stomach churn, the idea of just being given something when that's never really happened to me. Besides, getting my dad's business advice for free on running our gym and the club we're opening is so much more valuable than him gifting me a car. Commenter 4, I suspect this comes from your time in the system and being taught that gifts come with a price. You learned to be self-sufficient and take care of yourself when you were very young. I think you are an amazing survivor and a daughter anyone would be proud. I think also accepting kindness from your new family will become easier in time. But it is also alright to take things slow for now and get used to things. I am sending you many internet hugs and I wish the best of luck going forward. Reply, no, you're 100% right. I'm not going to talk about my life before university, but that's why I am the way I am, aloof, unemotional and hesitant with gifts. Like, I know my dad wants to pay for this trip to Spain, but I just feel so wrong letting that happen, like I have to put my own cash in if I go. Commenter 5, maybe think of it from your dad's point of view. He's suddenly discovered his long-lost daughter who didn't have a great childhood. I am sure he wants you to have everything he couldn't give you before. Besides possibly making your life a little easier, he'll have the joy of making up for lost time. Sometimes the best gift you can give someone is graciously accepting their gift that is given in love. This is what I see between you and your father. Thank you for a happy ending. Take that trip to Spain. Reply, yeah, I know he probably wants to give me everything and probably would if I asked, but I guess the fact that he's willing to is enough for me. Maybe one day I'll get over whatever is blocking me, but for now just getting the dad things from him I couldn't before is all I'm going to take, like him teaching me to drive. And I do want to go to Spain. Hopefully I can. Commenter 6, do it at your own pace OP. It takes a lot of getting used to receiving nice things when you've never experienced that. You said you're not going to tell about your life before college, so you never told your father. I know adoption and growing in the system can be traumatizing and you need time to heal. I just want to say that I'm really happy for you OP. I wish you all the happiness and success in life. Reply, you said you're not going to tell about your life before college, so you never told your father. We've been talking about it in my therapy sessions, but it's been slow since a lot of it is hard. When I meant I'm not going to tell, I meant online. It's hard to talk about and it's harder to type about. Commenter 7, go to the trip in Spain. You won't regret it. Reply, I really, really want to. It's a place that I've always wanted to go see. But my fiancé and my best friend run a gym together and it might be a bit pressed if I'm not there. Plus, my fiancé and I are also opening up a club soon, so we need to focus on that. Commenter 8, it will be much more sweeter memory to go on the trip, and your fiancé will be fine for a bit. I've missed out on trips for different reasons, but I regretted making the decision not to go, and now I'm stuck with that memory instead of what could have been. Reply, my fiancé is invited too. So if I go, he'd be going too, which leaves my friend alone to manage the gym and our clients and nobody on the club front. But, I'll try and figure something out. Commenter 9, true, maybe you just go. It could work for let's say a week. I know you're busy opening up stuff and working on becoming successful, which I love and I want to happen. But memories are all we have. When you look back in 5 to 10 years you're going to wish you went. Or not, I could be wrong, I just love traveling so much, I feel like this is an amazing opportunity. Reply, unfortunately, just me going isn't an option. My fiancé's got family in Spain he hasn't seen in 15 years and he really wants to introduce me to them. But yeah, I have till the end of the week to decide. I really don't want to go. So I could probably get somebody to fill in for me and someone else for my fiancé at the gym. As for the club, that's the more pressing issue. And as for becoming successful, hopefully. One of my uncles told me that the way I'm hustling shows I'm my dad's daughter cause I'm trying to make it big just like he did. Commenter 10. The picture on the wall, did he hang it up just for you because he knew you were visiting, or had it been there all along? Either way gives me the warm fuzzies. Reply, it had been there all along, I could see the dust on it and it was in other old photos they took along the fireplace. There are various other baby photos of me in the house too. But that one is the only one where I'm with my mom and dad. Commenter 11. Is there anyone in the family that isn't taking your reappearance well? Reply, they all seemed really, really happy and lovely. There is one cousin who was really prickly toward me, she was kinda ruining the vibe when I was talking with her. Stories number 24. I called my father this morning to see how they were all doing before he said good morning. He asked what the fuck is a dorm shower and why are my in-laws asking for money and gifts. My husband, children adult teens now, and I went no contact with my husband's entire immediate family and most extended relatives since 2016. That's 9+ years of not talking to, contacting, or having any type of relationship or interactions. We gave them over 20 years of chances and boundaries and consequences, that's to say it wasn't a rash decision that was made selfishly or thoughtlessly. Through the years they send us in the actual USPS mail because they're blocked everywhere else requests for gifts. You see, they like to create registries like you would for a bridal or baby shower and fill them with obscenely priced items for simple things like birthdays, Christmas, graduation, anniversaries, and every little I farted and therefore I deserve an expensive gift event. On to last week into today. I called my husband's aunt to catch up, she's the only one we're still in contact with and she gave me a heads up that my in-laws were trying to get her to pay, they used the term donate over $100,000, not a typo, for the golden granddaughter's dorm fees because, we're family and we need to stick together and do our part, when the lady who is living a modest life and on Social Security said absolutely not. They then sent her an invitation via text to the dorm shower and husband's aunt said it was beyond ridiculous not to mention the request for straight up cash when she graduated. In the meanwhile I'm getting texts and calls from old acquaintances and childhood friends we all grew up in the same town and in-laws still live there but we've moved about 4 hours away, saying that my in-laws are harassing them and trying to get a hold of our information because we changed our cell numbers and blocked them everywhere we digitally could. Last week in the mail I received an actual printed invite along with registry information, not one place, but 3 separate stores, and because we were curious my whole family found it comical, took a peek. The cheapest thing on there was a pack of washcloths in the $60 range, followed by a power strip at $120, and the prices went up from there including items in the $2,000 range. They even had commercial type appliances which you can't even take in a dorm room. So, why are they even on there? Then the phone calls started rolling in which were sent to voicemail from phone numbers we aren't familiar with. MIL ended up leaving a message. Husband's name, this is your mom. Niece's name is going away for college and we need you to contribute $100,000 for her dorm. We also sent you apparently the rest of us no longer exist an invitation to her dorm shower and a picture from her graduation which had requests for straight up money without even hosting a party. Don't disappoint us because you owe it to your niece and sister. First of all, no to the fuckity and no. Second, niece's parents make more than $500,000 a year, they both work for the state, love to brag, and their salaries are posted, found that out from aunt. So, shouldn't they easily be able to afford their child's dorm necessities? Third, my husband and I have our own 2 children in university. One going into sophomore year and one going into junior year, and we never made any grand announcements, much less requests for money. They also chose to stay local in order to save money. Fourth, WTF are you trying to get money and gifts out of my parents and others' elderly relatives? Aren't there laws against swindling senior citizens? My husband dropped everything into the shredder and I erased the voicemail with full intent of remaining and maintaining no contact. In the last 2 hours, I've gotten 6 calls from numbers I don't know but area codes that are from their area with nobody leaving any messages. WTF. Just when you think you're out they try and pull you back into their fuckery. So fucking tired, and the nerve to do that. They didn't even bother asking about their biological grandchildren that they claim to love with all their hearts. Edit. I'm so sorry that I didn't explain it correctly. To be clear, it's 2 separate things. Request 1, $100,000 for dorm fees and boarding, so essentially rent and food. Request 2, Storm shower, registering for gifts at specific stores that people are expected to buy for you off of a list produced by the graduate. Edit 2. How did Mill get the number? We don't know. We did have a friend say that they gave out our address, which they had anyway. We have friends and my family that still live there, our hometown that we both me and husband grew up in. Many people go to the same church weekly and many of the in-laws attend. That's the most probable place. We still gave our new numbers to our friends and my family. MIL managed to get our new number and nobody has confessed to giving it to her. I'm also getting a lot of calls from random numbers I don't know and they're not leaving voicemails. That coincides with MIL calling. MIL as of right now has left a single message. Reverse directory on the other numbers doesn't give me information. Somehow at the very least MIL has gotten our number. We don't know if the other calls are related to MIL because they don't leave voicemails, but considering the uptick in calls and the message from Mill we think it's related to each other. Thank you to all who read this novel-length post, the advice, laughs, and the recommendations for Google Voice. It's been already implemented. No further voicemails at this time. I will update if anything pops off. TLDR, in-laws suck from top to bottom, inside and out, and all I want is for them to stop. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, wow. The sheer audacity. You unfortunately probably need to change your phone numbers again. I'm sorry. Update me. Reply. I just keep blocking everything. We've changed our numbers at least twice, me 3 times and husband twice already, and they badger someone until they give it up. It feels like we need to go into witness protection, and even then I don't think we'd be safe. Thank you for reading and taking the time to respond. Commenter 2, maybe it's time to talk to a lawyer to see what your options are legally speaking, restraining order or a cease and desist letter, etc. Reply, my husband doesn't want to do that because A, he's cheap, B, you can't do that to family, but all the crap they've done is okay. I'm exhausted by all of it. Commenter 3, honestly, I'd be pretty pissed if my husband made those excuses. Reply, I've known my husband since we were children. He was very much brainwashed by them and I was too young and stupid to understand the lifetime implications of getting married to someone like that. What I tell my children and all their friends is to pay attention to what they do, what they don't do, and what they allow you to be exposed to. And you're right. I have spent a good portion of my marriage pissed at what others were bringing to my doorstep. Was OOP's husband the favorite and how were her kids treated in the family? Reply, my husband is not one of the favorites, my kids were treated like garbage. When they were little we would host simple birthday parties, at home, homemade delicious food, a variety of pastries and of course cake. We never registered for gifts and we accepted whatever they bought over with grace. Amongst the gifts were used and stained clothes and part of a set, so it would have a tag that said 3-piece set and we would only be given the pants instead of the complete outfit, not to mention the filthy clearly used toys and water-stained books. They would come in through the front and I would put everything into a garbage bag and place it in the garage because that's how bad it was. They would turn around a few months later and invite us to their birthday party complete with registry. We're talking library-bound entire Dr. Seuss sets and outdoor wood playgrounds. They saw nothing wrong with what they were doing and no shame like at all. What is OOP's husband's take on this situation? Reply, as of now, he wants to maintain no contact. Prior to the no contact he was a diplomatic fence sitter and it infuriated me because his silence was the equivalent of acceptance. I credit our children for somewhat dragging him out of the fog, but it's been a 2 steps forward 1 step back deal and there are cultural expectations and dysfunction that comes into play. Brainwashing would be the best way to describe it, and doing what they wanted was his easiest choice. These people are not normal or controllable, and they are a very large family. MIL has 6 siblings, FIL has 5. Each sibling had a minimum of 3 children and one had 10 with 2 deaths in their middle age. Those children have gotten married and have children. When you oppose one you become their enemy. So picture a non-stop barge of Bible thumping and telling you that you're all going to hell and cursing our family and children. Conversations don't work. We gave them over 20 years of chances. I refuse to fight, and I refuse to submit, therefore we ignore. It's been over 9 years. I trust but verify everything and haven't seen anything of concern. I simply hate the noise they create in my life that I don't want and isn't necessary. My husband doesn't like talking about them and said, WTF are they doing? Why are they going to my parents? After we had our fun with the registry information he popped everything into the shredder. It's not easy and I understand that, so I give him the grace to allow him to change. We've been married over 30 years. I think I answered your question. Commenter 4, and how is letting you be subjected to harassment somehow not him imploding your marriage? Because you sound like you're at your wit's end with these people and he refuses to take steps. A cease and desist letter might work, no need to even go to court. But your husband prefers to bury his head in the sand and let you be harassed. Reply, you're not wrong, but there's more to the story that doesn't make anything easy, but I'm not naive and there's a plan in place if things go south. He's trying and I'm giving him grace to change and learn, but I'm not stupid and my patience isn't infinite. OOP provides some context and an example of her in-laws' entitlement. Reply, My in-laws didn't approve of our marriage. They didn't want us to succeed. They thought that without them and their help and influence, we would be nothing. We proved them wrong. If we had anything or were successful in any capacity, they couldn't stand it. Example, we bought our first condo. They felt entitled and wanted keys so they could come and go as they pleased. I said no. They waited till we were at work and tried getting in using a locksmith they claimed to be the owners, and look, their name is on the buzzer and they hadn't had time to change their driver's license. The locksmith went to the manager's office because they often have spare keys, and because I had been in and out of the manager's office getting approvals for our renovations, they knew right away that they weren't the owners and called the police. Police showed up and were talking to the manager. We pulled up to see my in-laws standing next to the cop car along with another officer. They explained what happened. We reaffirmed that they had no rights to enter. They asked us if we wanted to press charges. Husband said no, but I begged the officer to scare the crap out of them and he kindly did. This is not even the worst of it. So, their logic is to constantly take everything that they can take, so we get overrun with debt while they keep progressing and achieving. Thus proving to everyone that we were losers, and they projected it. Why do they try? Because they can and think eventually they're going to be successful. Update. We are maintaining no contact, no gifts or donations of $100,000 because what they ultimately want is a reaction or contact. We refuse to fight, and we refuse to submit, therefore we ignore. Our silence is a clear message that they don't hold any value in our lives, and that drives them absolutely crazy. Google Voice has been set up and everything else is being blocked on the landline if they don't leave a message or aren't part of our contacts. Mill at this point has left a single message, but we've received at least 50 calls last time I counted from numbers that we don't know, but we suspect are MIL's flying monkeys. I still don't understand why they're asking for $100,000 for dorm rent and food, because anyway I look at it, the math ain't matting. I spoke to my cousin, a lawyer not in my area, and gave her all the information and asked her if anything could be done. She reached out to a retired colleague who used to practice and now teaches, and they basically said to continue to ignore because legally, not much can be done. Annoying, but it is what it is. Now on to the gossip. My dad and uncles are part of the church board and have been for decades. They, the board, secretary, and clergy, get together every Monday and review the week ahead, deal with issues, and approve or reject anything that needs to be dealt with. Pretty standard stuff. The in-laws attend the church but aren't really active in terms of committees, fundraising, and activities planning. MIL has volunteered once at a bake sale in the 40-plus years of living in the community and attending this church. The church has a huge banquet room that includes a stage, bar area, and fountain. It's used for church functions, plays, bazaars, dinner, dances, parties, and can be rented out for a fee. Everyone pays some sort of fee. The fee has a complete breakdown of everything. There are two prices, one for stewards members that pay a yearly membership to the church, and one for non-stewards, non-members, or anyone else who would like to rent the space. If you're a member, then you get the rentals at cost, so the church doesn't really make anything extra on the rental. If you're not a member, then there's an upcharge for using the space. MIL and SAL want to rent the space because they're anticipating 200-plus people for the dorm shower. They filled in a request online that requires you to input your information, steward, information about what the party is for, how many people, what vendors, if there will be liquor, and special requests. The board reviews it, and if they have questions they make follow-up calls. The secretary had MIL on speakerphone so that everyone could listen and ask questions if needed. They aren't current stewards. Last time they were stewards was when their kids were little. No judgment, just explaining. They used their steward number from decades ago and played stupid when the secretary said that they need to be current stewards in order to get the discount. They know this because they tried to pull the same crap for Sayal's big bridal shower. She had a total of 5, as well as the christenings of her children. The church has to pull a variety of permits depending on what type of party you're having, insurance, plus security, liquor permits, custodians, and a few other things I'm sure I'm forgetting. There's a pre-approved list of vendors that you need to choose from if you want to serve food or liquor, and they set their own prices separately from the church. If you want to rent the space, those are the rules and have been for over 30 years. If you follow the rules, then it's pretty seamless, and I've used them plenty of times throughout the years without any issues. MIL then tried to negotiate the price because they have volunteered so much throughout the years. Once, you volunteered once. Then she tries to say that they're going to bring in their own food and liquor. Church said you have to use the pre-approved vendors or you can't serve food or beverages. Then MIL pivots and wants to charge a fee to enter and have a cash bar so she can use the space, and knowing her upcharge to make a profit. The church explains that there would be additional paperwork and fees for that paperwork. MIL doesn't like that and says to just forget it. Under special requests, she wanted the choir to donate a performance, and at the end they wanted to do some sort of parade. My dad said that they were all just sitting there shaking their heads at the ridiculousness of MIL. The fact that the party is supposed to happen, supposedly, the first week of August, with the address on the original invite being SIL's house address. So 200 plus people are going to go into a residential neighborhood with limited parking for a dorm shower rolling on the floor laughing. I'm sure it'll be as classy as they are. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Send them a list of all the money they owe you for your kids as family. Birthdays, sick days, first pubic hair, and every party they didn't bother attending let alone pay for like a good family should. Make sure it's such a stupid amount they never ever want to speak to you again. Reply. My oldest kid's first birthday they forgot. On their second birthday they forgot again and decided to go on a cruise. They're retired and have never gone on vacation during that time because it's a huge cultural holiday for them. Their ridiculousness and entitlement is something that was a constant source of conflict in my marriage. They seem to forget that my husband even has children. Commenter 2. Very doubtful anywhere near that number of people will show up. People, most people anyway, will be hugely turned off by the obvious money grab. It's glaringly pathetic. I have to ask, you don't have to answer, by is this in the US or is this some cultural expectation where everyone pitches in to support family? It's so mind-blowing. I'm just really curious. How does the kid feel about all this? I'd be humiliated if my family did this to me. Is she just going along with it? Can't wait for the update after the party if you find out what happened. Reply, definitely in the USA. Everyone immigrated here starting in the mid-1900s but they held on to their culture tightly. My husband and I share the same faith but we're from different cultures, speak different languages with similarities in food, culture expectations, and traditions. The last time I saw the graduate was 9 years ago and she was a horribly entitled child. She was something, and I had to watch her closely because she would actively try and hurt my kids, like flip them off a hammock onto the concrete, pushing them down the stairs, and pushing them underwater in a kid pool. Is it possible that she's changed? Sure. Is it probable? I don't think so. Commenter 3. Are there other grandkids besides yours which clearly don't count that they have tried to pull this crap for, or is this one a special flower? Reply. At the time of no contact there were a total of 4. 2 are SILs and the other 2 mine. I know there are more. I'm guessing a total of 12 maybe 13 and I don't know the dynamics. We have gotten other requests in the mail but we ignored those as well, some being shredded without even being opened. OOP on the family values from her in-laws. Reply, they are just. When SIL had her second kid we drove over 4 hours through winter weather and construction to bring them gifts for the new baby. They insisted and we felt obligated because it was for the baby. I would have preferred to wait until spring or summer. They accepted the gifts, pastries, flowers and then acted like we were intruding. I literally had the kids get undressed, use the bathroom, say hi to the baby from afar, get redressed and leave. We stayed for 45 minutes and I'm being generous. Like why? They value the gift not the family. Commenter 4. What is the niece's part in all this? Willing participant or embarrassed? Reply, I don't know her now, as a young adult, but she was a very entitled horrible child. If I had to guess, willing participant. Commenter 5. Sounds like MIL is throwing a dorm shower scam circus and expecting everyone else to foot the bill. Reply, that has been her MO for years. SIL's mill. So SIL husband's mom got burned by MIL at the big bridal shower and ended covering over half the cost of 400 plus guests when she only had under 20 guests. MIL tried pulling the same crap at the baby shower and SIL's mill didn't invite anyone and didn't show because she was sick. She did buy a ton off the baby registry that SIL's husband brought to the shower. She just didn't want to deal with my MIL. OOP and her husband don't need to contribute to the niece's dorm shower. Reply, my husband received an actual picture of the graduate and a link to some fun fund, and then a separate invitation to the dorm shower. With them it's N and not or. We're going to contribute to them what they contributed to us, nothing. Stories number 25. Aita for letting my daughter flaunt her expensive items. I 50F and my husband 48M have a daughter, Danica 21F, who has been extremely independent her whole life. Danica began working when she was 15, and now she works part-time for a large corporation while pursuing her studies. We are extremely proud of her and how hard she has worked. We generally allow her to manage her own finances, and she insists on contributing monthly to family expenses with the money she earns. Danica occasionally likes to make pricier purchases, which I do not have any concern over, as I think they are sensible financial choices. Like last year, she decided to purchase the newest MacBook as her old laptop was on its last leg, and she wanted something reliable and long-lasting. Or when she bought a Marc Jacobs bag for work and university. We recently went on a family trip with my brother and his family, who have 2 kids of their own, Tammy 20F and Nick 23M. His kids and Danica aren't exactly close, but they get along fine for the most part. I know that Tammy and Nick do not have any source of income besides my brother and have not worked a day in their life. During the trip, Danica would occasionally pay for the 3 of them for small things like drinks or food. When we were shopping, Danica bought a few items for herself and picked up gifts she wanted to bring back to her friends. During dinner that night, my sister-in-law brother's wife told my husband and me that we were spoiling Danica too much with her purchases. We explained that Danica earned her own money, and every cent came from her job. Sister-in-law then proceeded to point and tell Danica that if that was the case, she shouldn't be flaunting her purchases and items in front of her cousins, who don't have a cushy little office job, and parents who spoiled her into the person she is. Danica apologized politely, saying that she didn't mean to flaunt her things, but I could tell that she was upset and embarrassed. My husband stood up and shot back, saying that Danica shouldn't have to apologize for her own hard work. I also pointed out that Danica has been financially independent since she was 15 and that we've always done our best not to spoil her. Sister-in-law then proceeded to tell us that we weren't teaching her how to manage her finances correctly and that all this money had turned her into a little brat. Danica excused herself to the bathroom and texted that she had gone back to the hotel. We had a tense back and forth for the rest of the dinner, and we came back to finding Danica crying in her hotel room. I call my brother, hoping that he is able to talk to his wife, but he explained that for the past few days, Tammy had been crying to her parents about not having what Danica had. She had been whining to her mom that she wanted the newest MacBook, as well, but she refused to get it for her. Myself, Danica and my husband have been getting calls from the rest of the family, some calling us a-holes and some who were willing to hear us out and understand where we were coming from. So Aita. Stories number 26. Dad disfigured me and refuses to address it. I accidentally make his fiancée leave him. Aita. 17F was recently staying at my dad's after school broke up. He lives in the countryside and has a farm which I grew up on. My parents divorced when I was 10 and we moved away. As a child, 6 years old-ish, I was out with my dad as he worked. I was running around and I tripped on something, causing me to fall down and land chin first against a jagged concrete wall. Immediately, blood poured from my mouth and I lost 3 baby teeth. The pain was immense. I can still picture it clearly to this day. Although somehow, my chin was not split open. I remember feeling like my chin bones were pulled apart and misaligned, around my jaw as well. I was obviously screaming and crying, and my dad hears me and comes towards me, tells me to shut up and he stands behind me. He takes each hand on either side of my jaw, yanking my jawbones, causing more and more pain, until he looked and thought my face looked normal again. He told me not to tell my mum, who was abroad with an ill family member for around a month at this time. It is a miracle to me that my adult teeth grew in straight, and I don't have an underbite or an overbite, but cosmetically the lack of medical attention had dire consequences. My chin is disfigured. If I had been to hospital then maybe they would have x-rayed me and made sure I wouldn't grow up to be unsatisfied with my appearance. Half of my chin is lopsided and jagged and half is round, and I get constant jaw pain. My jaw has bruxism and I am considering masseter Botox and even cosmetic surgery to correct it as it has become such a problem for me as I grew older, causing teasing, insecurity, and low confidence. I more recently told my mum of my concerns and she was horrified to learn of what really happened, as she never knew the story, and yet more angry with my dad. She called him and I had to de-escalate the situation. She was yelling all the same old about how he is a bad father and even threw in words like abuse and neglect. She demanded to him to pay for plastic surgery for me, something I'm not even sure of yet, and a whole load more of angry words. I was angry at her reaction as him and her have been divorced for many years and I feel like this is something between me and my dad since I'm older now and would rather not have them fight like they used to. Life has moved on. Anyways, when I stayed down at his lately he brought it up and was under the impression I wanted to get plastic surgery ASAP. He told me I was being vain, only bimbos get plastic surgery, and especially that he would not pay for it since it was in the past and he never did anything to me. I protested and said I never wanted him to pay for anything. I have a job and have savings which if I decided to, I could afford something to be done in the future. He asked me if I was angry at him. I said no, as I've grown up I've learned to let sleeping dogs lie and to move on with my life. He made many a mistake through my childhood but he is still my dad and does his best at the end of the day. But secretly, I do have some sort of resentment underneath. On the last weekend of my week at my dad's, around a month ago, my dad's fiancée, who is a wonderful and caring woman by all regards, pulled me aside and was asking me things about my childhood. She knows that things were a little rough sometimes, and that my dad was not an attentive father, but probably nothing in depth. She told me that after my mum called my dad and the yelling argument happened, my dad told her what happened when I was a child and she was astounded. Her words, she told me that was disgusting and neglectful of him and since then she hasn't been able to look at him the same since, and she had been thinking of how he is as a person more deeply and wanted to know more information about him before he met her. I was taken aback, but since she is lovely, warm, and friendly, I sort of vented lots of things and told her things that I even struggled talking about. She was really kind and told me the whole usual "you didn't deserve that," which I know, and I don't actively get bothered by my childhood experiences anymore as I've grown up and moved on and like to focus on the right now. The next morning I take the train back up country to my mum's house. Anyway, last night, I was completing coursework for my A-levels, as I'm going into year 13 in September and am aiming for a top university. I get a call from my dad, and he is livid. I have never heard such a combination of anger and absolute despondence. He yelled at me that I had ruined his life and me and my mum were scheming batches who ruined his life year after year, that I couldn't be happy for him and his life was ruined now. I asked him what on earth was he talking about, and he told me his fiancée had changed her mind and she wasn't going to marry him anymore, and she cancelled the wedding scheduled for next year. I started crying, genuinely, because she is a lovely woman and I was happy that he was with someone who fit him perfectly and she was, seemingly happy with him too. They even talked of having another child, which I was also very happy for them for. As an only child, a baby sibling would be amazing. He yelled at me and argued at me, calling things like attention-seeking, vengeful, btch. He also told me he was glad my face was messed up and I should have just stopped crying over it, and looking this way is my punishment for being self-absorbed. All I could do was cry. I'm honestly in such a terrible state right now. The relationship with my dad has been rocky, but for the past 5 or so years it had been getting much better I feel, and now I feel like everything has gone down the drain. Wasted. This year will be tough on me, A-levels, university applications, my work, and regardless, I just want a good relationship with him. I never meant to make his fiancée leave him, I honestly didn't. But I put my foot in it, clearly. I haven't got out of bed all day, I can't stop crying over how badly I messed up, and I don't even want to tell my mom about it, she would make it worse by calling him and yelling at him more. But yeah, that's my story I guess. I'm unsure if I'm the a-hole for bringing up old skeletons from the closet, even unintentionally, or how I solve this situation. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I have been in therapy from ages 13 to 15, for sort of related, sort of unrelated issues that stem from just life I guess. I was in a hospital for severe eating disorder but have since got better and I am healthy now. Therapy helped as I unpacked a lot and helped me see the truth about my dad, but still I feel conflicted and terrible as I know he put in effort more recently to be a better father and person in general I suppose. Stories number 27. Lady behind me in airplane. I was flying to the UK, mind you this is my second flight of around 7 hours each so I was just super drained. About 4 hours in I recline my seat to take a nap, and this lady behind me just screeches and swears. I turn around, because I had reclined my seat her drink had spilled. I felt so terrible, apologized and she just says don't recline your seat and proceeds to say it's fine. I give her about 40 minutes to finish her drink, turn back around to ask if she's done. She ignores me, she flat out ignores me. I sit there saying, excuse me ma'am, like 5x and she doesn't even waft an eyelid. I turn back around to compose myself cause I could feel myself getting upset. Then I just stare at her until she finally acknowledges me. I say, can I put my seat back now, and she just shows me her drink. This attitude honestly just made me so upset. I call the flight attendant and explain the situation to him. He tells me that I can just recline the seat without asking her, and I say that I got yelled at and she was just mean. He just looks at me confused, goes to the lady and says that I want to recline my seat, therefore he's going to do it for me. She gets angry, she says the table hits her belly, she can't watch her movie, says she doesn't have enough space and just complains. The flight attendant just says, this is how the aircraft is built, if you look around there are multiple people who have their seats reclined. If you want to complain, you are free to do so in the Qatar Airways site. He then leaves, and she starts to shove my seat. I just ignore it until she stops. She complains to her friend very loudly about how I reclined my seat and how inconsiderate I was. Probably because she got no reaction out of me, she calls the cabin manager, and for obvious reasons the cabin manager defends me too. Mind you this lady is 50+ years old, and I'm 19. The flight attendant asks if I'm okay, and gives me a squeeze on the shoulder. If I hadn't received that reassurance I think I would have just cried. Stories number 28. Aita for telling my absent father's wife I'm never going to be interested in a relationship with her or her children regardless of if she has some with my father or not. My parents were never seriously together and my father was in and out of my life as a kid. When I was 7 my mom died unexpectedly and my father automatically became my custodial parent and that lasted for 20 hours before he dropped me off at my maternal grandparents' house. They sued for child support and he sued for visitation rights, and he was in and out just as much as before, and he wasn't paying child support like he was supposed to. I could go more than a year without seeing him, and then he'd take a weekend and or maybe a week in the summer. Sometimes he took me and left me with others and went out with friends or kept doing his own thing. By the time I was 15 he was different but still absent from my life largely. But he was more put together, was holding down a steady job, and had become much more serious. When I was 17 I found out he got married, and that summer he forced me to spend 2 weeks with him and his wife and her kids, his stepkids, that summer. His wife and her kids were so eager to meet me, and the kids were talking like I was their brother and his wife was acting like she was about to be my stepmom. I spent the 2 weeks avoiding them. It was actually meant to be a month I spent with them, but the kids kept getting upset that I was refusing to spend time with them, and his wife was asking questions about why I was so unwilling to spend any time with the family or get to know her and the kids. She even wondered why me and my father weren't spending time together. I didn't answer any since she was asking my father, but I think he found it easier to let me go home. That's the last time I saw or spoke to my father. It's the only time I saw her and her kids. But she did reach out to me recently and I answered her call, which is what brings us here. After that summer I did get invites to the kids' birthday parties, invites for Thanksgiving and Christmas. I got birthday cards and Christmas cards and gift cards as gifts. I know they have to be from her because of the handwriting, but I always ignored what I got. So like I said, she called and asked if we could talk. She said she only found out after I left what had happened between my father and me. She had been told by him that he moved around a lot because of his old job and I wanted to stay in one place, and that he saw me every month without fail and all this other stuff. She thought we had a good relationship and that I was excited to be a big brother and to have another mom figure in my life. She told me something about being pregnant. But I can't remember if she meant they were trying to get pregnant, she was pregnant, or had been. She talked about wanting me to know the kids and to have a relationship. She said it didn't have to be a responsibility for me, but just a way to have more family and for her kids to have the older brother they were hyped up to have. And that she would happily pay for food of my choice if I wanted to spend time with them somewhere public. She was throwing out a lot of ideas and she was really trying to win me over. But I told her I wasn't interested, and I'm never going to be interested regardless of whether she has kids with my father or not. I told her I don't consider him my family and I have nothing to do with that side at all, and it's just never going to hold any interest for me. She asked me to reconsider, but I hung up because she was ready to fight for this. A week later she sent a letter to my grandparents' house where she basically told me to consider the kids and how much it hurts to be rejected and that I could stop this from happening. It was like 5 pages long and I skimmed the first page and a half maybe.